Alright. Hello, hello. So, what's up, summoners? King Blair here. As you may see on the title, what we're going to be doing today is a little bit different. You know, not our normal Epic 7 content. This time I'm actually going to be reviewing your units. So what we're going to be doing today is you guys are going to be able to send some builds to me in the Discord. Let me double check that the Discord link is functional if you're not in the Discord and you want to participate. So we'll be taking a look at all the units that you guys have, any spicy build or anything you want to showcase. Last time we did this, it felt a little spammy, so I started a new channel just for this. So that way it's a lot easier for me to look through y'all's units, and that way they don't get lost in a bunch of stuff. So it should be a good time, even if you're a newer player and you just want to show and you just want a review from me, whether to tell you, hey, what you need to work on, what I think about this unit, put that in there too, right? So it's a good time for anything that you may want, and hopefully we get to see some really cool, amazing, awesome type of units. So let me double check that the Discord link is working. I believe that should be pretty good. So let me double check and let me show you guys where you guys are going to be putting the review for the units, right? And let me link this real quick. Alright, there we go. So we'll do that there. Okay, let's get it. So where are you gonna do it? In the Discord, if you've never been here, up here I made a new tab called King's Unit Review. We already got someone that's putting there. You guys are gonna put it in here in this tab. And then this way, hey, what's up, Deets? What's up, KSNs? And this way we should have a good time. If for some reason we don't see a lot of people posting units on this one, since it's on the slow mode, as we go, we also do have a bunch of units that I can legit just take a look at, and we can review these as well. And I can also update all the other stuff. And hey, what's up, Several Clouds? So it should be a good time, hopefully. But yeah, we gotta talk about the collab. Oh man, collab is not gonna be coming out anytime soon. Hey, what's up, TZ? But yeah, so we'll be using it from here primarily. I'll be going through these for sure first, and then if we run out of any, we will be going into the top unit builds. So yeah, it should be a good time. So hopefully everything goes good. So yeah, again, the rules are there. Join the Discord. You can join in the descriptions. So yeah, kind of to show you guys how it would work. Let's say, for example, I wanted to showcase one of my units, so while we get more entries for this, let's say I wanted to showcase a really cool unit. What I would do is I would look at my account. I'm like, all right, what's something that I think will be spicy that I think a lot of people want to see? So for example, if you have an Coli and you think you love your Coli, you can show it. You can put how you use there. So for me, I would probably put Coli. I would put oh yeah, I should have done it a lot earlier. Yeah, that's my fault for not doing it earlier, but I didn't think about it for making it more organized till later. But for example, here you could put something like, okay, like my Coli. I could put the Coli in there, and I'd be like, all right, I use her for one-shotting in arena, especially to take out riots. And I would have there the speed, I would have the crit hit rate, the crit hit damage, and I would look at it and be like, this is a pretty spicy Coli. It's a little bit slower, but the damage I can tell is very high attack, right? So I kind of like that, actually. So that'll be kind of how it's going to roll. And then, of course, if you're a newer player, you can also put, hey, I'm a newer player. This is my Seaside. I'm not too sure what I'm doing, but this is what we got. And then we'll look at it and be like, okay, lifesteal would be better, but it looks like you have the good idea with defense, right? So that's kind of the things that we're going to be doing. So for this one, I could be like, you know, it's really good. It looks strong, but it would be nice to get the crit rate up because that might mess you up later on. And having that lifesteal could really mess up your life. So with that, again, feel free to put how many you want. And again, it's going to be in the Discord. If we do run out of any, I have a myriad of units I can come in through. But you can come here. It's up here in the main page. You can see it here. And let me add everyone as well. So let's start with the first one, starting with Cookie. So Cookie sent a Seaside. He's actually a guild member, and oh man, his Seaside I already like his Seaside more than mine. Not gonna lie, looking at his Seaside, man, whew, I like his Seaside a lot. Tonight maybe I'll do some mocks after we do some unit reviews. Why is my drink plus 19? I didn't want to wheel on drink, and I'm too lazy to finish maxing it out. But let's look at Cookies. So Cookies, I'm actually really impressed by the Seaside. So he does have the plus 30 Rengar specialty drink. That is really awesome, because that means that if you have high attack, you'll be able to make a lot of that drink damage passive. And with that attack, man, you're going to be doing a lot of drink damage. That's a lot of drink damage that's going to be going onto the opponent, right? The defense is not bad. That's pretty bulky. With the HP, that's really solid. You could honestly drop more HP and give her more crit rate. But even then, like, it looks like it's a damaged Seaside utilizing drink, right? So that's the big thing. It's a damaged Seaside utilizing drink. Has the effectiveness. Not a lot of crit hit damage, but, I mean, it's doing most of the damage from the attack. And the fact that it's lifesteal, it gets bonus points. So, really solid. Really, really solid. I like the Seaside a lot. I wish I could make a Seaside like this. I know there's probably people with better Seasides, but I think this is a really good lifesteal Seaside that does damage based on drink. If they didn't have the plus 30 drink, this Seaside build will not work that well. But the fact that it is plus 30 means that he'll be doing a lot of spicy stuff. Ooh, Mythcraster Straze. Bruiser lifesteal Straze. What am I looking at? Hold up. I need new eyes for this one. So just kind of looking at it, Proof of Valor, that's good because it means that your Straze can't get one-shot, right? Proof is one of the best ways for you to not get one-shot out the gate. Decently slow speed, right? 174. Decent, really good bulk. You have to realize this is really good bulk for a Straze, right? Because he starts with what? 550? And like 1,700 HP? So this is interesting. This is weird. This is really weird. I don't know how I feel about this. The other thing is that it is lifesteal. So the fact that it's lifesteal means that you can actually heal off of the S2 and the S3. So you can, quote-unquote, survive longer. And it doesn't have that much critical hit damage. So it barely has enough attack. But with the attack buff, you still kill anything in the game. Right? That's just how Straze works. If you have attack buff, you still kill anything in this game. And then this should be enough to bulk up. But the thing about it, alright. This is my thing against the Bruiser Straze, and I want to rip on y'all's builds, but why I personally hate Bruiser Straze is the fact that his S3 cooldown is 5 turns. If his S3 cooldown was 4 turns, I would be more like open to really liking Bruiser Straze, but the fact that it is 5 turns, essentially 4 because you do get that invincibility, that's a long time that you have to wait, especially at 174 speed. That's a long... By the time that you can S3 your second time, you probably already won the game. And you're probably already at Frenzy 5, right? His S2 is 0 cooldown, so he can definitely survive, right? With this build, he can definitely survive. But it's like, by the time you can S3 again, you already pretty much won the game. So, pretty weird, but I'm curious how he uses it. He didn't mention how he used it, right? So that's really cool. Oh, Cubo hitting us with a spicy build. Cubo always giving us a spicy build. He is a really good player, honestly legend level player. But this Elena, oh my god, this looks filthy. Oh, this is gonna make me cry, man. Dude, what the hell? This Elena looks sick. Wait, this actually might be the best Elena I've seen. I don't think I've ever seen a better Elena. I might actually put this in top Mina builds for the Elena because I don't think I've ever seen one like this. Why am I so shocked? It's on counter set, 1. That's really good, right? Counter set Elena is really good. He still managed to get almost 200 speed, which is really good because with Tome, you're cutting into cleave. 1,600 defense. That's a ton of bulk. As well as like 17k HP, that's dummy bulk. And on top of all that, you're still going over 200 FRES? Not a single substat was wasted. I don't think a single substat was wasted in this build. I think every substat in this build actually went towards something that Elena could use. That is actually disgusting. Looking at this is actually... Yeah, it has to be triple S. But even with triple S, okay, take away 30 FRES, he's still 200 plus FRES. That's ridiculous. Dude, if I had to fight this Elena, I would actually want to cry. I would just quit. I would just be like, I don't want to deal with this. This is nuts, by the way. So, this is amazing. That's an amazing Elena. This is just, yeah. This is just... If I had to react to this, I would be like, what the is this? Is he pay to win? I don't think he's pay to win. So for Straze, I don't think he's a pay to win unit. I really think he's just a very standard unit. I don't think that's super scary. But alright, now this is Violet. Millie's Violet. Millie has invested a lot. I actually think she has a triple SS. So first off, what I really like about this Violet, penetration set. Oh man, I think if you're able to get the 85% crit with penetration set, I already like your build better than mine. Because I think penetration set on Violet just like makes too much sense. You also have the lifesteal, which is kind of a must-have on the new Violet. The defense is the only thing that I would like to see, like 100 more defense, and I would say this build is like a beauty. It's perfect, right? If I saw 100 more defense, I don't think you get a better Violet, right? 100 more defense will make this Violet just like God tier. Right now, it's like just incredibly strong, right? The 15k HP is actually really good to have high HP on Violet. Why? Crow, right? For Crow, the big thing with Crow is he's able to take out Violet if you don't have enough HP on him. But since he can always dodge Crow's S3, if you have an Aureus, even if the Crow is only a 5k HP left, like a 25k HP Crow, it's only going to be doing like 13k, which means your Violet can survive and heal off of the Crow's S3. Right, so having high HP is actually really important on your Violet now, just so you don't get Craw horse, because a lot of people do try to use Craw against Violet, which is one of the reasons why high HP Craw can't actually, or high HP Violet can't actually deal with Craw. So that's really cool, and then the speed is amazing, right? Having speed on Violet is actually really hard to do. It's to get all these tank stats and good speed. That's why I imagine she had to sacrifice a little bit of defense, but the speed makes up for it. The crit rate, 85% is all you really need, because you self crit rate buff with S2 that you can't strip, right? So with that, it's like really, really good. And oh, thank you, Jordy. But that's cool, right? With the crit rate, because you already basically have 100% crit rate once you get your S2. Yeah, you lose the initial S1, but you get, there's only one turn downtime for the S2 where you're not having that extra crit. I think I'd rather have extra stats and have that extra crit. But I appreciate it, Jordy. And then the critical hit damage, I mean, anything over 250 is going to be a ton of damage, right? This is a very nice Violet. I like it. I like the pen set a lot. I don't know why I like pen set so much. I think it's really, really good. I'm not built, bro. What you mean, one? But Landy. All right, let's see it. So this is a Landy. Let me see. This looks like a bulkier Landy. So just looking through it, the attack is not bad. Right, it's a counter Landy. Okay, so it's a bulky Landy. That's what I imagined when I saw the counter set. I was like, okay, it is a bulky Landy when I saw the speed. So surprisingly for a counter Landy, I'm not used to seeing this much damage on a counter Landy and this much speed. So that's really cool. It's just the only thing is the bulk might be a little too low. You might still get one shot, but that's why you have the guiding light, I imagine. Right, but the damage, I think this is as much damage as my current Landy. Granted, my Landy sucks. But now I have to see it, because y'all are making my builds feel super inferior. Yes, I have a damage Landy, but I think it's like, yeah, you have more damage essentially. Even with the crit rate damage, you have more damage than me, and way more bulk, and it's on counter set. That's cool. That's really cool. That's solid, right? I would like to see the bulk a little bit higher, but the damage stats are really, really solid. That's really, really solid Landy. Way better than mine. Way better than mine. So that's really, really cool. I like it a lot. Counter Landy, decently bulky with good damage. So she's still doing as much damage as the speed Landy. The only thing is a little bit more bulk. Like 1k more HP, and I think it would look a lot nicer, right? So before we go to the next one, while we wait for more people to be able to post, I see that question in the chat a lot about Straze, and people thinking he's a well unit. As a whole, from what I've heard, Straze is really not that intimidating. I don't really think he's a unit that is going to break the game as far as PvP goes, right? If anything, it's the supports that are really good, and cleave as a whole is really, really strong, not necessarily Straze. Straze actually has a lot of counters for RTA, right? And for Arena as well, I don't see myself getting cleave a lot with Straze. Granted, I'm still coming back to champion again in Arena, but I don't think he's a well unit at all. I think he's a really good unit. Yes, he's amazing for PvE, surprisingly. But for PvP, I don't think it's a unit that if you don't have, you can't compete in this game, right? It's not something like, when Last Order Croft first came out, that unit was very polarizing, where if you didn't have, it didn't make a lot of tough. But I think Straze is a good unit. Alright, Carrot. Oh man, I've seen so many Carrot builds at this point, I'm like unfazed by them. It's a solid Carrot. It's a solid Carrot. All in all, it's a really strong Carrot. Anything over 4k attack is standard at this point. I like how bulky yours is on the defensive side. And the speed is, I mean, it's slow enough that it still is fast, but slow enough that a General Purgus can go before her. That's the big thing. Right, so that's really, really nice. Critical hit rate, again, that's a little bit wasted, and that's something you can definitely improve upon in the future. Same with critical hit damage. Effectiveness, not really wasted. As long as you have over 15% effectiveness, it's not actually wasted, right? If you have 15% or lower effectiveness, you're basically wasting the stat, because you're not going to make a difference on your 85% chance to hit or not, because of the innate 15% FRS. The Carrot's not bad though. It's a very good standard Carrot. I think my Carrot is around the same. But it's a very, very strong solid carry. Yeah, yours has a little bit more defense. Mine has a little bit more attack. Right? And a little bit more speed. Just because it happened to turn out that way. But very good standard carry. This is what I expect most people's carrots to look like. Right? A counter team that can handle Straze. Any team that can handle cleave can handle Straze. Any unit that can outspeed Straze just automatically wins against him. So Kise, Assassin Sid. Even Sage Ball if he can interrupt the cleave. Elena does really good into him. Sanya Tech. There's a lot of stuff you can actually do against Straze. As long as you outspeed him, his base speed's not that fast, right? So as long as you can, if you can counter cleave, you can counter Straze. And Straze out of cleave is one of the easier units to counter. But alright, that's it for the carrot. Pretty good standard carrot. I like it. Pretty good standard carrots. Lilias. Oh man, I've seen so many good Lilias builds. This is a really solid hybrid. This is actually what I want on my Lilias. It's a very solid standard. I have one complaint though for your Lilias. There is one thing that's really irking me, and it's the fact that it doesn't have immunity set. Because usually you kind of want immunity set, but I guess it does bait some Cereses to S2U. But without immunity, it's just like there's a lot of things that can actually lock you down. And since she's not like, you don't have her at like 240, 250 speed, someone can lock you down with the Fallen Cecilia, right? Certain people can actually lock you down with Fallen Cecilias. I like the bulk. I like how bulky she is. I like that you were able to get crit rate and crit damage. This is really nice. The bulk is pretty solid. The speed is not. It's pretty not bad. Like for having all these other stats, it's really solid. But the no immunity, man, that hurts me a little bit. If this was immunity set, I would really like one of yours, right? So if you had an immunity set on your Lilias, a lot better Lilias. It's something I would actually like a Lilias like this actually. Right? And it's a little bit weird that you gave her this artifact because she's not particularly taking that many turns. When I see someone with Rise of Monarchs, I typically think they're taking several turns. I think like a 240 speed knight. I think like fucking Clury. I think Ross. Tikra set to an extent. Not really. Not really Tikra set, but he can actually use it. But Ross and fucking Clury, because they usually a little bit faster. So if your Lilias was a little faster, I would say this would make more sense on her. But right now the artifact doesn't make too much sense on her. Just because she's a little bit, on the grand scheme of things, slow. It's a really solid Lilias, right? It's a really, really solid Lilias. But, man. And yes, Straze is typically not that fast. Yambin, I hope it's not lagging out for everyone. Because my internet recently has been really weird. So hopefully it's nothing too bad. So, that's the Lilias. So, pretty solid Lilias. Dark Corvus. Alright, I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea how to gauge a good Dark Corvus. But as a whole, this already looks pretty solid. Just because I see the F-res is decently high. I see the Strix Gauntlet, which would be nice if it was maxed out, but that's something that takes some time. The HP is amazing. The defense is good. I would say the speed's a little slow, but I imagine you pair her with Iseria. But the F-res is amazing, right? And the HP is just ridiculous. This is one-shotting anything. Then again, I don't know too much about Dark Corvus, right? I'm not a player that uses Dark Corvus. I never really did. I just know he needs HP and F-res so he doesn't get locked down by things like Tempest Surin, right? Too easily, right? But you always give him a support, so it's not something like you always usually pair him with a Katie's or with another form of healer. So I'm not really like, this is really strong. I mean, it's gonna do its job, right? That's all I know. This is gonna do its job, right? So this is, I will say, I'll give him my stamp of approval because I see it and I know it's gonna do its job. I know this HP looks really, really high. And the F-res looks really, really solid, right? So, nice. Nice. I like it. I like it. Ooh, Tav's Politis. I always like Tav's Politis. Tav always gives me some spicy builds. And it is a DPS Politis. Oh my god, this is a big damage Politis. I just saw the attack and critical hit damage. This is ridiculous. Tav, what is this? Is this what cleavers use for Politis? I've never seen another Politis, right? So I've never seen other damage Politis. So I think this is really solid, right? I mean, as a DPS, as a whole, this is really good. And the speed is fast enough that if they have something like Fakineer Clury, you're still cutting into the rest of the team, right? So they're forced to go on the Politis. She's still cutting in. She's still doing dummy damage, right, with these two. But overall, it's pretty solid Politis. I mean, I don't know too many attack Politises, but this looks really good. Like, gear quality-wise, I can tell the attack. She doesn't have the greatest attack, actually. Just base stat-wise, I'm really impressed. Because I know it's not easy to get. That 300 crit damage is not easy to get on any unit. So, that's a full damage Politis. Those, oh man, those are so nice to always see. I wonder if that's what cleavers use. I always like to see what cleavers use. Let me see the base stats. Yeah, her attack is... Oh, her attack's actually not bad, right? It's decent attack, but she has no help from critical hit damage side. So the fact that you're able to get her to 300 critical hit damage and 3,500 attack, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's great. And the speed is really solid too. Oh, now we have a counter Politis. We're seeing a lot of Politis. I like it. Still pretty solid attack on this one. Still very solid attack. We see the immunity set on this one. And we see the Abyssal Crown, right? And then for this one, we see the book. Book makes sense for cleaving. Abyssal Crown can catch some cleavers off guard. I will say that Abyssal Crown does catch some cleavers off guard. The defense is a lot higher on this one. The HP is a little bit higher on this one. The speed is faster. So it's more likely to cut into a cleave. But she still has some pretty solid damage. Oh, you have immunity? Oh, what the heck, Tav? Oh, I didn't even notice. Yeah, so this is got to Politis then. And then for this one, it's a pretty solid Politis as well. Different job. Of course, Tav's just looks ridiculously good, right? But he does sacrifice a little bit of bulk. Although, at the end of the day, it's like, are you countering cleave? Most cleavers can't one-shot you with their setup. So, it does the exact same job. Overall, Crown and Politis, I've never been a fan of, personally. Why? My big reason is with Crown. It is really good at cheesing certain cleavers. But a lot of cleavers now, they actually use immunity or use Politis themselves. And usually in arena defense, right? Because I imagine you use this for arena defense. And most Politis, you're going to see them in arena defense. Without something like a Lullaby Lin, it's not as threatening, right? You can actually just like soak up the S2 and not, or soak up the S2 and not care, right? And just reset, like immunity or something. So Lila is a little bit more standard, but if it's just strictly for counter and cleave, Abyssal Crown can be a little bit more cheese and catch you off guard a little bit more. So that's good. That's I mean, there's a lot of Politis out there. Mascot Hazel, I actually never see this unit. So that's always nice to see. Wow, you have really good gear on her. Why? That's cool. I mean, I wonder if you use her for PvP. Because I don't think of Mascot Hazel as a PvP unit, but the fact that you have this high of FRS and like decent speed and really good bulk makes me feel like you use this unit for PvP. Now I'm curious, Snowball. I'm really curious how you use this Hazel in PvP. It's not a PvE Hazel. Because most PvP Hazels, they don't need this much FRS. Right? They don't need this much bulk. They don't need this quality of gear to do their job. Right? And I see the tome as well, so you can take extra turns. I wonder if they use a Kayron combo. I've seen that a couple of times. You can give greater attack buff to a Kayron with the Hazel. Man, I'm really curious to see how you play. Because that's really cool. That's a really well built Mascot Hazel, right? And it's hard to lock down. And it's at perfect speed to give the attack buff, like the greater attack buff, to DPS. So that's good. Have you ever went to Risha where a voiceover is someone saying help in games? I can't get it to go away. No, I've never heard that before. Giovanni Chavez. I've never heard that before. But pretty solid Hazel. I'm actually really curious now how they actually do this. How they actually use this. I'm really, really curious now. Operator Sigret. Oh man. This is a cleave Operator Sigret. That's really high critical hit damage for an Operator Sigret. That's really high attack for an Operator Sigret. Speed is not fast enough to be an engager. And the fact that you give her Portrait. This is definitely a cleaver Operator Sigret. And he has to have follow-up for her. Right? I'm personally not a big fan of this type of Operator Sigret. I feel like I'd rather drop some of the attack and crit damage stats and give her more speed so she can actually be an opener. But this build's still fine, right? That's just my personal preferences, right? People play differently, but the only thing would be I am surprised it's not on a Guiding Light. The main reason being just because without Guiding Light, she's very susceptible to getting one-shot. Operator Sigret's a very squishy unit, right? So with this build, if you get outsped, that's really dangerous because there's nothing to protect you, right? But I could see this being really good for taking care of carrots, right? So, read the description. Pair with Flame Arena S3 Soulburn. Alright, so it's an arena one. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. Jake, that makes sense. I was thinking about that. If it's strictly for Arena, then this is amazing, right? This is probably breaking the game for Arena. This is just incredibly good for Arena, because Arena, you can actually protect Operator Sigret quite easily. I just have such a mindset of everything is RTA that I really should have more of a mindset that, hey, there's actually other game modes besides RTA King Blair. So I really need to remember that there's other game modes. But for an Arena, this is amazing. And the Flan is also really, really good. Yeah, this would just destroy. Oh, yeah. With Flan, yeah, this is going to destroy. For sure. Really, really solid. Really, really solid. Yeah. It's perfectly optimized with Flan. I could see that. Yeah, I could see that's why it's exactly 300 critical hit damage. Now it all makes sense to me. It makes sense why you built it this way. I'm glad that you told me that. For Arena, this would be really cool. I actually would want one like this because there's so many Fallen Cecilia still in Arena. And even if you don't use Politis, or even if you don't use Flan, this will still outspeed most Arena defenses, right? Which is all you need to do. And this will still one-shot. You can one-shot an RB with this and then just S3 right after. So it's perfect. It's perfect for Arena. Oh, Healer's SSB. This SSB gives me nightmares, right? I just hate going against SSB. Again, it's very similar to Cookies, whereas this one has a slightly higher critical hit damage and less effectiveness. But it has a little bit more defense, a little bit less HP, and a little bit more attack. And again, it's lifesteal immunity, 30 drink. C-sets like this just do so much damage over time. I like the higher critical hit damage, but then the lower crit rate means that you're not getting as reliably. But when you do, you're doing a lot more damage, right? So we've seen two C-sets. This other C-set was also very good, right? So if we compare the two, this was a little bit on the bulkier side, a little bit more speed, which honestly doesn't really matter, but a lot less critical hit damage. So this one is like an overtime, will be doing more damage, versus this one's going to be doing a lot more burst damage, right? Because of the higher critical hit damage, although not as reliably because of the crit rate. So that's cool. That's very, very solid. Oh, Stannis. Alright, again, against Stannis, it's hard to impress me with the Stannis build, but this is a really solid Stannis. I've just seen way too many Stannis, man. It's just like the units that I see a lot of are like Carrot, Stannis, what's the other one? The people like to flex RB. Like when I see RB, Stannis, or Carrot, I've just seen so many broken units with those type of units. It's crazy. And it's only a 4% crit rate. Yeah, that's true. Yours will do a lot more damage, Healer. But as far as this one, I really like the speed for the lifesteal one, because then you're able to take more turns, which means you're doing more damage, you're doing more work. The defense is amazing. The attack and crit damage is really strong for a lifesteal Stannis. The only thing that other Stannis that I have seen that have over this one is the higher health, right? The only reason that would matter is for things like Last Rider Crow, and for things that do like burn, right? Like Carrot burns will burn a lot more through this HP. The only thing I've seen other Stannis is that they will have slightly higher HP. It's a little bit on the low side. That's my only complaint for it, but I can't judge because mine's not even lifesteal. But for a lifesteal Stannis, this is very strong. Just the HP is a little bit low, and it will get burnt by Carrot, and it will get ridden over at Last Rider Cross. Aside from that, I really like the speed though, and everything else is very solid, right? It's just the HP is a little bit low. That's the only thing that is there. Is the HP is a little bit on the low side. But I mean, everything else is really good. Oh, I like this. I don't see this unit ever. But y'all know how ridiculous this is? Wait, what the heck? Because this is a 3-star unit. So base stats on 3-star units are atrocious. By the way, Cal is a legend level player. He made legend this recent season. So this is really cool to see. It's on counter set on Elris. I believe she provokes on her S1. And she has 3-star stats, right? And she does damage based on her defense. So her S1, I believe, provokes. Yeah, it's a provoke, right? And S3, every time she gets hit, she increases defense. And the 4th time she gets hit, it's AOE increase defense. That's really cool. I actually think if we ever get a Politis SC, she could actually be a dummy good unit, right? This unit could actually be really, really strong, and this guy's ready for it. So that's cool. It's cool to see. I wonder how much damage it actually does. I really hope there's a SC for her, and I really hope I get to see this person's Politis pop off. But she's already a really solid base kit unit. It's just the stats that are way too low for her, right? That's what makes it so hard to build 3 stars. That's really solid. Acades. Oh man, Acades is always fun. I mean, again, it's another unit that it's she needs to be as good as whatever guild wars you're fighting in. But really like the bulk. I know Arcades does not have the best bulk in the planet, and the FRS is actually pretty solid. Arcades doesn't have that much FRS, right? So having her at pretty high FRS is really, really solid. And pretty solid speed too, because she has atrocious base speed. So very tanky, good speed, solid FRS. I mean, it's not going to dodge high-end F10As, but sometimes you just got to take the L against those, right? So really, really solid Arcades. This will win so many guild wars. So many guild wars, especially if you have a Dark Corvus, which I imagine you do. I imagine there's a Dark Corvus you're using, and this is the Arcades that you're pairing up with it. So I love seeing all these units. Y'all have some really cool ones. Siege Contest and Land Decrease Defense. Ha damn! That's fast. I know she has a fast base speed. I don't think she's faster than Acid though. I believe Acid is on the faster side than her. I have to double check this, because that's really fast. And I know her S3 strips now. Does her AE give her speed? I know she's really fast, but I wonder if her AE gives her speed. I think it doesn't. Which means that a 112 unit this fast, that's pretty ridiculous. That is ridiculously fast. And the effectiveness is also very high. This is a lot of investment into this unit. Like looking at it, 112 speed. That means if this was on a Cermia, it'd be over 300 easy. If it was on Acid, it's a 310 speed Acid. This set. This looks really good for PvE too, with what you gave her. But, wow, that's really unique. Oh, it is 10 speed? Okay, that's what I imagined. So she's a little bit slower than Acid still, but this would be over a 300 speed Acid. This would be over a 300 speed Cermia. It's ridiculous speed. It's ridiculous speed. I do wonder what the follow-up is. Because, to my knowledge, she doesn't have a way to stealth afterwards. So she's kind of one of a unit that takes her S3 and she's done. Right? You can't use a Soulburn to give her an extra turn. But, wow, that's interesting. That's cool. I mean, it's a unique unit. If you really like the unit, this person really likes this unit and really pushes to the next level. I mean, plus 15, full build. See on pusher, that makes sense. That makes a little bit more sense, right? But that's really, I mean, it takes a unit out of the gate, right? And has a potential to decrease defense. Pretty interesting. I kind of want to see how you use it, actually. These type of units, I'm always curious how people do it. Bazaar, follow-up, Politis, occasional MLDB, killer, arena. Okay, so this is another arena-style unit. This will work in RTA, though, because the speed is really solid. This, oh man, I like to see this. Because fun fact, Elfelt does not need crit rate, surprisingly. She doesn't need crit rate because units that are slept, you will always be able to crit on them, regardless of what your crit rate is. So you're able to always guarantee the S3 if you Soulburn, and then with the S2, you're always guaranteed to crit. This will do pretty good single target damage. And with the effectiveness, it's high enough to hit most things in arena, right? So that's cool. I like seeing arena units too. MLDB unit. So that's pretty solid. So it's a pseudo arena cleave. If you guys didn't know, for arena, you have to have some form of cleave team, right? You have to have some form of cleave team that you can just run over and over again. So no matter what cleave team you use, you want to make sure you have a cleave team for arena. And having units that are specifically built for arena for cleaving, even if you're not a cleave player, is really important to do. So I'm all for having units like this. Oh, several clouds, you're Straze. I like it. I like it. This is a cleave Straze. This is a 100% cleave Straze. Why? Really high attack. So it's nice. Even if you don't get the attack buff, it'll do a lot of damage. Really solid speed. Why is this big? It allows you to set up with units that for cleaves that don't necessarily have too many CR pushers, right? This allows you to one-shot units even without having a dedicated CR pusher like a Flan, right? So that's really important. It also lets you do things like slower cleaves with general Purgases or fast general Purgases or fast different types of units, right? So it's really good for aggro teams. I think this is probably the best build for Straze for PvP. Personally, I like this build a lot. Of course, I've seen more with more critical hit damage. I've seen this that are faster. But all in all, Straze is just there to one-shot a unit. It's just, he's there to one-shot and get out, right? That's his job. So as long as he can do his job effectively, even if he does lower than average crit damage, the attack makes up more than for it, and you'll still be one-shotting even if you have like way more stats or not. So at the end of the day, really solid Straze. All purple gear too. Really, really solid. Tempest Surin. I'm curious on this one. Oh, that's a really good Tempest Surin. That's a really solid Tempest Surin. Tempest Surin is one of those units that's actually really hard to build, and you don't realize how hard she is to build until you actually are sitting there and having to build her, right? Big reason why is the attack. She actually doesn't have the greatest attack, so this is really solid attack for her. No stats wasted on the defense and HP. The speed is very solid. Crit rate 100%, always nice. And then the critical hit damage, almost pushing 300 crit damage, right? And then some effectiveness as well to lend the debuffs. I still think that the best artifact for Tempest Surin is going to be Basket, but for Arena, Moonlight Dreamblade can work a little bit better if you're using like the traditional Politis, FCC style team compositions. So I like it. I like this a lot. I like T-Surin. It's a very solid T-Surin. Very solid T-Surin. Arbiter Vildred, man. Again, Arbiter Vildred, I've just seen every Arbiter Vildred on the planet. This looks a lot like an Arena Arbiter Vildred. Why do I say that? Arena Arbiter Vildred still have very good offensive stats, as this one does. Still have very good speed, so they're not just getting lapped over and over again, but sacrifice a little bit of the defense, right? Still really tanky, though. And then, of course, counter set, immunity, Moonlight Dreamblade, really solid Degen Arby. But for sure, a monster in arena defense. If you fight this in arena defense, oh man, it's going to catch you off guard, right? This is why this is so scary in arena defense. And this is typically what I would expect from arena defense RB. But also for RTA, right? It's still really good for RTA, still amazing offensive stats, still amazing defensive stats. And on counter set. New player, this is how RB looks at the moment. Should I switch to Moonlight Dreamblade? I have it on ElboDB. Basket is better. You are going to want to max out this basket for your RB. So as of right now, I mean, you're on the right track for Arbiter Vildred. I would honestly, at this point in the game, for early game players, using the attack set is okay. Because you're using Arbiter Vildred just for the raw damage when you're an early game player. Right? You don't necessarily have to put him on a speed set yet. Hey, what's up, Ufer? But yeah, so for the new player that's putting this Arbiter Vildred is a unit that you will make significantly better over time. I still think getting used to Alexas is better. MLDB only really works once you have like a Degen RB, but that's way later on. As of right now, it is actually okay if you switch him to just a pure attack set. Although this build also works, I see you haven't maxed out the boots, which will give him a lot more speed, which is also nice for your level. I would want to up this attack a little bit more, right? Try to get it to at least 3,500 if you can. I know that sounds like a lot, but once you max out this artifact, max out the boots, get a little bit more optimization with your gear, get a little bit more of those free-to-play pieces leveled up, get some of those reforges, you should get a little bit closer. Should I still get RB if I have Straze? David, absolutely. Straze and RB go really well together, but they also do different roles. Straze is really good at taking away knights and just one-shotting knights, and is really good in cleave teams. Arbiter Vildred is good in every single aspect of the game. And there's still, aside from Standard, there's no other unit aside from RB that just gives as much value as Arbiter Vildred, right? To this day, I mean, even if I had Straze, I would still use Arbiter Vildred, and they can also go together, right? So just because you have Straze doesn't mean that you don't need RB, and vice versa. They're both really great units. They're both units you should try to have. And at the worst, if you really aren't using RB for cleaving, he's really good in the Degen build, which you guys saw right here. This is what people call Degen RB, which is the counter set RB. So that's cool. I like it. It's on the way up, right? It's on the way up. It's on the come up. World Buzz and Tank Bustin'. Nice. So usually I imagine this is also for Guild Wars, right? I love good Cermias, man. I love seeing Cermia. So this is very solid. I just realized it's 200 KCP. This is disgusting for PvE, by the way. I just realized, like, it just settled on me. Now that I'm looking at this one and I'm reading it, I'm starting to realize, damn, this is a really good Cermia. Almost 5k attack. 100% crit rate. 300 critical hit damage. Decent defensive stats to tank bosses. And decent speed to actually get turns. This guy must have cleared all the Dagger Shakar missions for the bosses. There's no way this guy has not cleared all the Dagger Shakar quests in the Hall of Trials. This is crazy. This is an amazing Cermia. I have no complaints on the Cermia. And for Guild Wars, right? If you protect her, like he mentioned, with Bastion of Perlucia, you can destroy in Guild Wars if you take her to Guild Wars. This will kill anything in the game. This will absolutely kill anything in the game. There is no unit this unit does not kill in Guild Wars. I'll send it here. I can't get it. Give me a second. It should be linked to every different thing. But let me get it. Let me post it. But that's ridiculous, dude. That's an amazing Cermia. That is ridiculous. All-rounder Wanda. Out here with the Wanda. We do see the Guiding Light. You know I'm a big fan. For these archers that don't have any survivability. Granted, Wanda does get self-stealth, but she doesn't have any turn 1 survivability. This will give her the turn 1 survivability. It's pretty fast. You can actually speed contest certain things. The attack is nice. The crit damage is weird to me. And the effectiveness is nice as well, right? Because she has to be able to land the stuns. But the crit damage is a little bit weird to me because I don't know if this is going to be killing anything, right? I know she's mostly for tank busting, but I will say this. With New Violet, this could actually work, right? Because New Violet doesn't have a lot of counters, and having her be able to stun Violet for 2 turns and be able to poke him down is pretty nice, right? So, I could see the appeal in her. I still don't think Wanda is the best unit in the world. No offense to Juan, who loves Wanda and definitely has invested a lot in her. But she's in a really weird spot because immunity just destroys her. She doesn't have a strip, right? She can't self-strip, and a lot of people have immunity. But this could work against things like Violet, right? But then again, after you do that S3, you're pretty much dead. And you can't really do that much follow-up damage, right? That's the only problem I have with Wanda. She doesn't do much after her S3, and she can get walled out by immunity. But against Violet, I mean, it does do good against Violet and Rylet, right? Which is, she has her niche, right? Specter Tenebria. Again, as I mentioned, I see Specter Tenebrias all the time. And this is what I meant with that other Specter Tenebria that we saw, where the HP was a little bit on the lower side. Granted, this defense is not as high, but I'd rather have a little bit lower defense and higher HP because of Carrot. That is the main reason why right now Specter Tenebria needs health and defense, and it is okay to sack some of that defense for some health. Why? Carrot burns, right? That's the big one. The big difference though is the other one did have a lot more speed and a lot more crit damage, about the same attack though. But there's a very good balance, right? You don't need ridiculous amount of defense. You just need enough to survive an AoE, but you need the HP to actually fight things like Carrot. You actually need the HP to fight things like Last Runner Crop, right? So that's the big thing, right? Did my Ken get replaced yet? I don't think it has, Andrew. I think it's still up there. I don't think anyone's put up a better Ken yet, actually, surprisingly. But yeah, so really solid stand-in, right? I mean, the other guy, I'm not gonna say the other guy did not have a great stand-in. This stand-in was also really freaking good, right? This is also really good stand-in. My only thing is I would actually sack some of this defense and give it to her health, and then your stand-in would be ridiculously strong as well, because this we can actually fight Carrots a lot easier. And I know normally that wouldn't matter, and functionally they would be the same in most situations, but because of Carrot being so prevalent, the HP is kind of necessary, right? And there's more and more units that are able to burn and do true damage AoE, right? And that's the reason why I recommend more HP. But overall, really great stand-in. Lilias, I'm surprised that she didn't put her Senya, because her Senya's on a different level. Miras, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but her Senya is ridiculously good. So let me see the Lilias, because I actually really like oh my god. That's a really good Lilias. To pair off with the Senya, of course, because she has an amazing Senya. That's amazing. This is amazing. This is an amazing Lilias. 300 critical hit damage is not as easy to make this Lilias as you think, because she actually still has very solid speed, 100% crit rate, 300 critical hit damage, and still has good bulk stats, right? And then of course, this is so she doesn't just get one shot out the gate. She's actually able to do the S3 combo. That's a really good Lilias. I have no suggestions for this Lilias. I have no suggestions for this Lilias. Oh, she's in Vegas, nice. But her Senya is ridiculous. But I imagine this is to pair off with the Senya. This Lilias is amazing. I have no complaints, right? There's no suggestions. This is just a great Lilias, right? This is what I would expect from a crit damage Lilias. And this is like of course, yeah, you could be like, oh, more defense. Yeah, of course. But like, there's nothing to fix. It's perfect. It'll do its job just perfectly. So that's really cool. Really, really good Lilias. Really, really good Lilias. I'm very impressed. Remnant Violet. Ooh. I like the damage. This reminds me a lot of my Rylet, actually. This reminds me a lot of my Rylet. So again, we see higher than average attack, higher than the mixture with damage, and pretty good speed, right? The only thing I would say is the bulk stats aren't the highest in the world, so he can actually get killed through miss with this. But it's nice that it has like a good-ish balance. So it's an interesting Rylet. I mean, it's on the right track to being a really good Rylet. I imagine this person probably may not have all the imprints, and if they do, it's just something that's like, oh wait, they're not even have the reforge on the ring. So he'll be getting more attack. I like the damage though. I mean, I personally am a big fan of attack Rylets that are bulky. That's actually the build that I went with my Rylet. Very similar build, where I sacrifice some of those bulk stats to try to get a little bit more attack. I just feel like I like my Rylet doing more damage. That Rylet though does have more attack and more speed than my personal Rylet, but I like having that extra bulk. So that might be just my preference. If it's something that you just really care for the couple of S1s and for the chance to solo later on in the fight, then it is what it is. But for me, I just like mine to be a little bit more bulky, right? But this is still a very solid Rylet, right? On the right track for a unique build. Challenger Dami. Nice. Again, this is another unit I've seen a lot. Contrary to popular belief, she definitely needs speed. So this is actually really good. Because without speed, you're going to be getting cut a lot, right? So without speed, that's really, really important. The reason you see Challenger Dami's also having higher than average crit rate, even though Challenger Dami only needs 50% crit rate, the reason you see this is actually because of Politis, right? So if you ever wonder why would you overcap your Sedum's crit rate, it is because of Politis, right? That is the big thing. So this makes sense, although it may be a little bit weird. I would still like to see immunity set over crit rate set though. I still think she kind of needs the immunity set just in case. Although the crit rate works as well. But this is mainly so you don't have to rely as much on the buff, which is pretty important. The only thing is, I mean, down the line, the dreams, quote-unquote, dream stat line of a Challenger Dami is 4k attack, 350 crit damage, 200 speed on pen set, right? That's like the dream Challenger Dami. That's like what I would expect a really OP Sedum to look like, would be 4k attack, 350 crit damage. The crit rate around this much is fine. 200 speed is pretty good, but on pen set as well. That's what I would expect from like god tier Challenger Damis. Right, but aside from that, that's a really solid one. A Tywin. This unit has really fallen off the map recently. You rarely see A Tywin anymore. There's a lot of things that actually counter A Tywin right now, which is why you don't see him as much. I actually think the effectiveness build is better now. But that aside, this A Tywin is actually going... It's pretty ridiculous, right? This is really, really good because it's on counter set, right? It has the Holy Sacrifice. It has great bulk stats. It has really solid speed. It has really solid attack stats. So it's an overall really good Bruiser A Tywin. I don't think I've seen a better one, personally. And the fact that it's on counter is what really impresses me because people tend to focus A Tywin a lot, right? He has more... almost as much bulk stats as I do. Almost the same speed, but his is on counter set, right? So that is already just so much better, right? That's amazing. Again, I think for A Tywin, the effectiveness build is going to be a little bit better now than this one, just because fights aren't as long as they used to be. And there's a lot more checks to A Tywin and a lot more F-res in the meta, where I think he kind of needs the effectiveness again, right? So it's still a really, really good Tywin, right, for Brewster A Tywin. Adventure Ross, Brewster team opener for Landy, Stena, other DPS, right? So very solid Ross. Wow, this is a, whoa. This is a really good Ross. This is way better than my Ross, actually. This is an amazing Ross. Wow. So the bulk stats are ridiculous, right? This is amazing bulk stats. The speed is perfect. 240 speed plus is all you need to have really good speed. Crit rate, it's not wasted because Ross over time will do a lot of damage, and the effectiveness is still high enough that it can actually land the debuffs, and especially for PvE. This is a top tier Ross. This is an amazing Ross. And he still has room to grow with the Aureus, right? I honestly feel like Rise of Monarchs is better on Ross, especially with this good of a build. Rise of the Monarchs is probably better. And he can move the Aureus somewhere else. But if you mostly use Ross and you want the Aureus for the extra protection, this works too. But yeah, this is a very good Ross. This is a very, very good Ross. Rise of Monarchs, of course, I think is my personal preference for Ross. But, I mean, he may not have Rise of Monarchs. But, again, this is just ridiculous. I thought I had a good Ross. But, man, y'all have some ridiculous units. Yeah, my Ross, I don't think is even close to his. Yeah, it's slower. Mine has a little bit more HP, but way less defense. About the same effectiveness, and I'm wasting FRS. Yeah, his Ross is just strictly better than mine. Just all across the board. It's really good Ross. Really, really good Ross. I like it. I like it a lot. Very, very solid Ross. Isanagi's Operator Sigret. Oh, this is a monster. What the This is legit the other Operator Sigret we saw, but with speed. More speed. We saw this Operator Sigret earlier, right? This is just strictly faster and more damage. Granted, you have to realize this person does use it for RTA. Isanagi is an amazing cleaver, right? He's a ridiculously strong cleaver. This is crazy. And it's fast enough that it can still double as an opener, right? It's fast enough that it can still outspeed your Arbiter Vildred and your other DPSs and most bulky teams. Granted, you're not outspeeding F10s, and if you do get speed contested, you're getting destroyed because there's no guiding light. But aside from that, this will outright kill Kara with S2. This will kill almost anything with an S2. I'm kind of curious. Wait, let me see this. I'm actually really curious how much this S2 does. Because that's a really good Operator Sigret. That's ridiculously good Operator Sigret. What is that? 308, 300, let's do 310. 302 crit damage. She won't have anything. Target has barrier. And let's put Adamant Shield. And let's put Aureus. There's no way, right? Wait, seriously? This kills anything in the game. That's like any Bruiser or any Squishy. Through Adam and Aureus, right? So even if you don't have the Adamant Shield, this will almost kill a tank. Wow. Without attack buff, by the way. I did not give her attack buff. Oh, and I didn't even give her the speed. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Yeah, I didn't even put the speed. So she kills anything with a barrier, essentially. Because this is basically 18k damage. 18k through damage through Aureus. That means if you're hitting the FCC outright, you're killing the FCC. What the frick? You pretty much kill most FCCs outright without attack buff. That's ridiculous. This is ridiculously good. That's amazing. That's too much. That's too good. That's too good. And now we're gonna get to see Kise. Oh man, this is amazing. This is a great Kise. No complaints here. This is also just amazing. Really good attack, really good crit damage, and I love the speed so she can actually speed contest. Right? That's the big one. And you can also improve it because she's wasting stat on the FRS. So very, very solid Kise. I mean, this is great. There's no complaints, except, you know, some people will say she's too slow. Some people will say it needs more. So, that's crazy. That's crazy. Y'all have some crazy stuff. We're going to see another... Oh, my God. Someone was like, let me double up your Sigret. Or your Kise. Oh, this is dirty. It doesn't have 100% crit rate, but Basket, for the most part, will make up for it. But the attack, I think it's higher. Yeah, the attack is higher. The crit damage is a little bit lower. But the speed. Oh, this is disgusting. Imagine you're playing Guild Wars. And you see a squishy team with Kise. And you're like, let me outspeed this team. And when you try to go in for the outspeed, you get outsped by their DPS. Dude, y'all have some crazy units. This is insane, by the way. This is ridiculously strong, right? And if he procs basket, good luck. Good luck. If he procs basket, your unit is dead. Really, really solid. Lilibit. I love seeing Lilibit. I love seeing those unique units. This is very interesting. I'm impressed at how fast you actually were able to get Lilibit. I don't think her base speed is that good. And she's gonna be faster than most Arbiter Vildreds, right? With that build. Let me see that a little bit. She has average speed. About Basar's speed. Really great crit damage. Really good attack. This will kill most Arbiter Vildreds out the gate, right? So with this, you kill Arbiter Vildred. You kill Violet. By the way, you kill Violet with this. In case y'all didn't know, this will actually kill a Violet. Because now with the buff, she has like 20% hit chance here. She has 20% hit chance in her passive. So you have like what, a 15% chance to not kill a Violet? And that's everything else you kill. Really, really good Lilibit, right? For what she does. For what she does, this is good. It will outspeed most Arbiter Vildreds, which means that you're able to kill and extinct the Arbiter Vildred. And it can kill Violet, and it can potentially kill some Violets, right? So, pretty spicy. And she's fast enough that she'll outspeed Bruiser teams. Granted, she's one of those units that's like in and out, right? These type of units, once they do their S3, they're basically out the fight. Which is one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of them, but it is what it is. Another Stene, really solid damage Stene. I mean, really good attack stat, really good crit damage, decent speed, decent bulk. It's a very standard speed Stene. The thing that you sacrifice for not having lifesteal is going to be more damage or more bulk, and it looks like he went for the more damage. I personally think I went with the more bulk aspect, but I think we have very similar Stene stat, like overall stat and roll wise. Mine, I personally just like more bulk because I hate when my Stene dies. But I like the more damage as well, because you can actually use her for pseudo cleaving too. If you decide to pivot draft, you can actually use that Stene for cleave, whereas I can't really use her for cleave. Yeah, so mine has a lot bulkier, but yours has a lot more damage. So very solid Stene. I mean, it looks like it's pretty much a cleave Stene. It's what I imagine. It doubles as a cleave Stene and as a damage Stene, right? So really solid Stene. Hey Meru, man, this unit is so toxic, and you have a really solid build on her. So this is what I would expect from all Emerus. Counter set immunity, kind of a must-have, right? La Violet, pretty standard. Almost 4k attack, really amazing, and dummy tanky stats. Almost 18k HP defense, almost 18k HP. Really good speed, right? Almost 200 speed. Critical hit chance, honestly, I don't think she needs it. Same thing with the effectiveness. She doesn't really need it, but they only have 5% on this. I can't imagine if you're actually able to move this to the attack, you'll have a 4k one. 4k attack Amero with dummy tanky stats. This is a really good Amero, right? No complaints on this Amero. This I would hate going against this. This would actually make me want to quit if I ran into this Amero. Because again, counter, immunity, hard to kill, dummy tanky. Really good Amero. Frenzy Gamer, yeah. I imagine you also picked Doris. Oh my goodness. Another Straze. Again, this is a cleave one. You see the really high attack, really high critical hit damage, pretty solid speed. On Draco Plate, that's interesting. Because I still think he gets one shot, but he does get the extra 30% crit damage. I still wonder if Portrait out damages this though. And I'm pretty sure Portrait does just because of the penetration. But it could be close. Let me actually see. But it does give him the potential to survive maybe a speed RB, right? So if there's a speed RB, you have this extra kind of safety in case you do get outsped by an AoE damage dealer, maybe like a Landy or something. If you do get outsped, you have that safety that you have some damage reduction, right? And you still get a pretty solid stat boost, right? And it's also a 5-star artifact, so maybe he doesn't want the symbol, and this is a good way to get more stats out of your Straze, right? So in all, pretty solid Straze. Really, really, I mean, it's going to do its job. It's going to kill. That's always what's good. Speed needs made Chloe. Pretty nice. Oh man, it's counter set made Chloe. Counter set Chloe's just, oh, they're so toxic, dude. These type of made Chloe's are really annoying to go against. The only problem I have with counter set made Chloe's is you give up your turn 1 advantage for later fighting advantage. So for Bruiser teams, this is really good. Because with this, you're not going to set up attack buff before your first turn, but you can cleanse after the opponent takes turn 1. You're most likely surviving because you have high defense and decent HP. And you also have the FRS to not get locked down, right? With Shimada's stab, that's an extra 20. With her passive, it's like 230, right? But the speed will be something that you will set up attack buff after you took turn 1, right? So it's still a pretty unique build. Really, really solid. I mean, it's tanky, right? It's tanky, it'll do its job, it'll cleanse. It's going to do a lot of good stuff. Very, very solid. One of the proudest. Good Tamaru Lucas are very scary. That's a really good Tamaru Luca. So, 254 speed. Ridiculously high offensive stats. You often do see 270 speed Tamaru Lucas. That's actually something that I see more than high damage Tamaru Lucas. But for a damage Tamaru Luca, this is the best you're going to get. Or really close to the best you're going to get. Because this is really good attack, really good crit damage, 100% crit rate. It's so solid. It's so solid. For damage, right? Of course, some people like for cleavers. Some cleavers that have her as the main CR pusher will have Tamaru Luca at 270 speed, right? But for a non-setup Tomoka, just for a bruiser Tomoka or a damage Tomoka, this is great. Like for Guild Wars, Arena, certain RTA matchups, this is so much damage, right? That the opponent's not going to be able to keep up with her if they don't have a way to deal with it. Fiend. This unit, I actually thought this unit is like super power creep, but some people do use her still for things like Guild Wars, right? So I do sometimes see her for Guild Wars. She is plus 15, so I can tell you're committed to her. And we do see the really high damage stats. I imagine this is going to be a Guild Wars Fiend. Fiend's still pretty good for Guild Wars because with a Soul Burn, you're able to Soul Burn, kill a unit, and then do an S2 strip and do some damage, right? So that's really, really solid. I like this a lot. I mean, for what it is, Fiend is still good for what she does, and she doesn't even have a good artifact, right? Dating Joker, this could also be for PvE. Oh, this is a PvE one, too. So, yeah, it's a PvE one as well, because you also see the speed, right? So for Water Expedition, if you have ways to keep her alive, you can also use her for PvE. So, pretty solid. I mean, really, really solid Fiend, all in all. Good for Guild Wars, and can function for PvE as well for Water Expedition. Do not know what artifact to use. Elris, Sword, Pocket Cleave. This is a very, very, very good speed Pocket Cleave. It's a good starting point, right? I can tell there's a lot of stats that are wasted in FRS, into crit rate, into critical hit damage. Not as much bulk as you normally see on a Pocket Cleave, but you are on the right track, right? For speed Pocket Cleave, Justice for All is usually a little bit more standard, although Elris Sword can still work. Another thing that I like to see on Pocket Cleave a lot is Adamant Shield, because that way, if you pick Pocket Cleave in a more aggressive team, you still are bringing some form of protection, right? So that's why I'm a big fan of Adamant Shield on Pocket Cleave. If you don't want to use Elris, or if you don't want her to be as greedy, that's another thing that you can do. But if you want her to be a little bit more oppressive, I personally use mine on a Justice for All. Just because you get a lot more speed and you get a lot more out of it. And you do have a lot of room to grow with your Pocket Cleave, right? You're wasting a lot of stats here on the bottom. But you're on the right track, and it's really nice that you have a speedier Pocket Cleave, because this can actually speed contest, and it can actually be pretty nice in certain situations. So you're on the right track to having a pretty solid one. Alan Slash. I'm being told this Emoken is going to blow my mind. At first, I saw the attack set, and I didn't think it was going to be an FRS one. But it looks like I was wrong. This is an FRS Emoken. This is good. It's really bulky. It is very bulky. And the FRS doesn't need Gauntlet, right? Because things like F10 are still going to hit you, right? Things like Cermia are still probably going to... I don't think Cermia can just soul burn you, right? But aside from that, wow. Very bulky. Very, very bulky. And still really solid damage stats and still having good FRS. This is a very good Emoken. Right? Making use of that attack set now does actually give you the same roll value as every other set, which makes it actually viable for this game. So this is nice. It is indeed a very good Emoken, right? This is definitely a very good Emoken. Right? Just looking at it, the defense, the HP, is good. It's really solid, right? This is what I would expect from really good Emokens. Deeds with the carrot. You guys know, I mentioned it before, carrots, I've seen so many carrot builds that at this point, I'm just like immune to OP carrot builds. But for this carrot, really good attack. I think higher attack than mine. Still extremely bulky, pretty good at speed. And some wasted stat on critical hit damage and critical hit rate and on the little bit of F-Rest. But aside from that, it is a very good carrot, right? It's a very good standard carrot. I expect carrots to look like this for almost most people, right? Because you're able to get a lot of attack. But this is above average as far as the attack goes, right? Most carrots don't even get close to this much attack, right? Most carrots usually break 4,000 and then kind of give up. But they get a little bit more bulk. So this one's a big burn carrot. So pretty solid carrot, right? Cumo Straze. This is a very good cleave Straze. Again. And surprisingly on immunity. The only thing I can think of why this would be on immunity is for anti-Cerising. Because aside from Cerise, there's no reason to have this unless you're taking it to Guild Wars with FCC against F10A teams, right? But we do see really great offensive stats and amazing speed, right? Why is this so threatening? You could actually open with Straze and potentially one-shot a tank, right? I almost feel like I would get rid of the immunity, although Cerise is a pretty big threat. But I imagine he uses for cleave as well. I don't think he necessarily needs the immunity aside from Cerise. So if you're worried about Cerise, immunity is nice. But getting those extra attack stats, you could even open without any attack. That is really solid. That is really, really solid Straze though. Really, really solid attack Straze. And here we have a hybrid A-Tywin, right? These are hybrid A-Tywins. It's usually what I actually had in the past. Where you have a little bit of all stats, right? He has some effectiveness to hit, not the highest crit damage, really solid defense, pretty good HP, really solid speed. This is hybrid A-Tywin, and you also see that the neck is not reforged, so I imagine he's gonna mix it in the future. So this is a very solid hybrid A-Tywin. It's pretty good because it does everything that A-Tywin needs to do. It's like the best of both worlds, where you're still hitting certain tanks. You're hitting tanks with this A-Tywin, especially in Frenzy, but you're still doing the damage that a booster A-Tywin would do. Right? Again, I still think that the full effectiveness one would be the best one. Canopus unit could use a review. It's not the best unit though. Omnia, so yeah, I mean, we're going through, and if in the description of when you post your unit, I will also give you some stuff in certain things. Oh, against Politis, that makes sense. That makes sense. Against anti-Politis Straze, that makes sense. And for T-Cern. So if you're setting up that way, although usually I imagine you're probably using some form of flank cleave if you're using immunity on Straze. Since for the most part I use Operator Sigret and Bazaar, so I never really worry too much about Politis, but I guess if something doesn't go the right way, it's always nice to have that extra protection. But yeah, really good hybrid A-Tywin. I still think Control is the better A-Tywin build now. So this is going in the right direction, but I still think Control is the best one. Right? I still think Control is going to be the best A-Tywin build now. Is Straze worth PD4? It depends on your playstyle, obvious. But just the fact that Straze is so good for PvE, I think just the fact that Straze can one-shot Asthma Hunt makes him a good unit to pity for. Right? Just as a whole, just the fact that he's good for PvE is good. And the good that he's good for Arena and Guild Wars. But if you're not a cleaver, it doesn't become as important. Right? If you're not a cleave player, you're not going to get as much mileage out of your Straze as a cleaver would. But it can be used for PvE purposes because he just does so much damage, right? But for the most part, again, for things like PvP, if you're not a cleaver, it's not as big of a necessity. Or a aggro player, right? Again, we see another carrot. This one, I really like in terms of bulk. No wasted stats, right? No stat was wasted at all. The speed is solid, the tank is ridiculously good, and the damage is really good. This is a really good carrot. No suggestions on this one. This is just a great carrot, right? I love how bulky this carrot is, and how solid her attack still is, right? So this is what I would expect a higher end player. You see that no stats wasted, and they usually do go to those bulky ones, right? These is usually like when you don't get these stats here, that's the difference between most other carrot players. And I really like the speed. You can also opt to have a little bit more burn. But, I mean, that's a very good carrot. Mine is like a little bit more attack, but I do waste some stats on here, right? So mine would be a little bit bulkier, but that's still, this is an incredible carrot, right? Incredibly good carrot. LQC. Full critical hit damage. Interesting. Interesting. I imagine this is going to be for Arena. For RTA, it's a little too squishy. For Guild Wars and for RTA, it's pretty good. But usually when you have a LQC with high critical hit damage, you're only using it to one-shot one unit. Because the attack is not that high, the splash damage is not going to be that crazy. Right? So the big thing with this one is the lower attack, because I've seen some higher attack ones, means that you're not getting as much splash damage. The tanky means that you're probably not going to be able to take her to RTA unless you're cleaving or bruisering. And the critical hit damage being this high means that you're really trying to one-shot that unit. This build is really good for one-shotting one unit. Right? If you're just wanting to one-shot one unit, this will get the job done. If you're trying to use it for the splash damage, then more attack is usually better. A little bit too squishy for my taste though. Right? That's the only thing I would try to fix if you want to use it for more scenarios. And the critical hit damage, I mean, if you use it for one-shotting one unit, that's fine too, right? So it's not bad, right? Celine. I rarely see this unit anymore. But for a Celine, I mean, you have the artifact almost maxed out. This is going to kill most things in the game that are DPSs, even some bruisers, because you have the artifact, you'll get the attack buff, you'll be able to use the S2. Really good in today's meta, just because there's so many Flans, so many mid Chloes. There's a lot of ways to actually trigger Celine. There's actually a lot of ways right now you can trigger Celine, and because Cleave has so many good tools, it's not bad to actually have a Celine right now. The higher speed, I just don't know. I personally don't use Celine that much, but it's something that she's still so squishy, right? So that's what's tough to me, right? With Celine, it's just tough that, like, I don't know if she's going to be able to make use of this much speed. But if she does somehow survive the burst, it would be nice to have some speed on her. But the bulk is not quite there. I would almost drop the speed and just commit to full damage, right? Just commit to one-shotting something, right? Unless, I will say this, if this is the stealth artifact, and this gives her stealth, then she can actually follow up with an S3 with this speed, right? So I will say unless that, right? So that's the reason I could see the speed working, is if this is the exclusive equipment that gives her stealth after using the S2. That would allow her to actually follow up with an S3. So that I can actually see. And yes, LQC is primarily going to be based on flat attack. The higher the attack, the more it does. It's pretty solid. Soon to be meta. So, oh man, this is crazy to me. I still can't believe you have this much health on this unit. So fun fact, for the people that don't know how Terranor Royal Guard functions, he reflects a percentage of the damage that he takes. Right? So he reflects a percentage of the damage that he takes. Same Senya, but without any conditions, right? And not as much damage as Senya. So the more damage that he takes, the more damage that he is going to be reflecting. So he essentially is going to be kind of like a porcupine, where if you hit him, you get hurt, right? So the big thing with this one is going to be that it is there. The reason he says it is to counter Straze. Right? This is what what he says he is going to use it. This is a secret tech to counter Straze and to counter cleave. Because when you think of Straze targets the damage with the most health. If this thing survives a Straze, which it is possible for him to survive a Straze, I still don't know how it works with Holy Sacrifice, but this will do damage against the Straze. Granted, doesn't the Straze, I wonder how it works with invincibility, right? So I don't know if that's how it actually works. I don't think that's how it works, but I am curious to actually see this in action to see if the damage happens before Straze gets the invincibility, and I think it does actually, right? I actually think it does. And I don't know if the way that it functions is that if he gets revived, you get the reflect damage off. So there's a lot of what ifs, but he has tried it for Guild Wars against aggro team compositions like the Kise Arbiter Vildred, and it has apparently worked though. So according to him, this is a secret tech, and he says it's going to be really good. I have my doubts, but I'm putting it out there. It is very interesting, right? So it is very, very cool, and it does reflect the damage, as much damage as he takes. I don't think it reflects burns, though. It has to be damage that he takes. He's a porcupine, right? So it applies it for invis. That's really cool. Yeah, so it's a secret Secret Straze tech. If it works, I have no clue. I want to see it in action. One of these days, he is 1 unit away from having every single ML unit. And we will be doing a unit account review once he actually gets that, right? So this will be interesting, right? I am very curious on how that will be. Haste, I never see haste, so it's always cool to see haste. I honestly can't give you an honest opinion on haste because I never see haste. And I think most people can agree that they've never seen a haste. I imagine using him for a form of cleave for fun, right? I see the Wind Rider, so he can kill and actually follow up. So that tells me it's a PvP haste. So I could see him still being used for Guild Wars against certain situations. But again, he's not in a good spot, right? So I can't tell you if it's good. I imagine it's good. And I imagine using him in some form of aggro team because he does have very good attack and crit damage stats and decent speed stats and has the Wind Rider to follow up afterwards and get some survivability. Right, but again, you never see haste, so it's really hard to gauge. Yeah, Straze actually dies and gains Invisibility Cermia. Yeah, I have no clue, Mosh. I have no clue, but apparently that's how it works. Fallen Cecilia, we haven't seen a lot of these, but this is a very solid Fallen Cecilia. I mean, this is what I would expect from high-level players. Why is Fallen Cecilia so good? It's so stupid tanky. 15% of this HP is going to a barrier, so that means that with this Fallen Cecilia, you are getting 4,200 HP barrier. About. So imagine every time this FCZ takes a turn, you're getting a 4,200 HP barrier. And the thing about it, he still has really good crit rate to actually do some damage. So again, this is a really amazing Fallen Cecilia. I wish I had a Fallen Cecilia like this, honestly. Being completely honest, I wish I had a Fallen Cecilia like this. This is a very good Fallen Cecilia. It's going to be really annoying to deal with, especially in a Bruiser type team. If she's doing consistent damage against you and just giving 4,200. It's essentially a 4,200 heal every time she takes a turn. For the lowest health ally. Oh man, this Hysteria? Oh, this is spicy. It's another spice unit. So, we've been getting a lot of units recently that have very big S3s. Think things like Dark Corvus, Last Rider Crawl, and even things like Sage Balm, and even things like Straze. Imagine you are fighting someone with a Straze, like a damaged Straze. He goes in, he kills one of your units, and this Hysteria resets that Straze, and then sets up to kill another unit with the rest of the team, right? So that's the idea behind Bruiser Hysteria, is she's going to be doing consistent damage, and she can reset priority S3s. It's actually a really cool tech that some players have been playing around with. It has a lot of potential. Just overall with what it can do, the Guiding Light makes it even more annoying because you can't really lock her down turn 1. So you're able to set that up. I'm actually a person that I really want to try this tech, especially because there's a lot of really good big S3 units that can benefit of having an Hysteria on your team, right? And then of course, it's still good enough damage that it can actually function for things like PvE, although the effectiveness is not that high for PvE. So that's Hysteria, right? Very solid. T-Crosset, man, this guy, I'm surprised I don't see him more. He's still a very good unit, right? Very solid T-Crosset. I mean, there's not a lot to say about T-Crosset besides the fact that he's bulky, he has good FRS, so he's not going to get locked down, he has decent speed to actually be able to lap, right? And it's a counter set to be even more annoying, right? So, very solid. The counter set being good to stun, the Headlock Lance to take more turns when you're trying to kill the backline, the FRS so you can't lock him down, and the counter set to be annoying and counter, right? So you might actually have the stun artifact, which would be pretty interesting. So that's pretty cool, right? What artifact? I mean, this is cool for him. Tico's had to take more turns. I personally like Bastion, just because Bastion gives you immunity and barrier to one of your allies. Adamant Shield also works really well to have a lot of stuff, but I really like Bastion, right? I really like Bastion the most on Tico's set, just because that immunity and barrier on a priority DPS. It kind of gives you a safety for your backline unit, so not only can you not kill them, you also can't debuff them early on. That's why I personally like Bastion the most on him. But Hillag works, Adamant Shield works, a lot of different things work for him. Representing the free-to-plays, General Purgus. Again, very standard General Purgus. Although he was able to make this General Purgus with all free gear. Very solid HP defense, crit rate, crit damage, speed, is fast enough for most DPSs. Again, the only complaint I've told them in the past is the no immunity. That is something that I imagine may take away some games from him, since people can lock him down a little bit easier and deny the attack buff. But aside from that, he meets the stat line, right? He meets the stat line that most Procus need with very broken sets, right? Very, very broken sets. So pretty interesting. Cleave RB. A unit review video can't be done without having good Arbiter Vildred. So this is a very good Cleave Arbiter Vildred, right? Why is it such a good Arbiter Vildred? Great critical hit damage, amazing attack, and still solid speed to not have to rely too much. The thing with Cleave Arbiter Vildreds, they don't necessarily need that much speed because you have setup going with them. You would rather use that speed for more damage. If this thing gets a gab, your team is dying, right? Your team is just dead, right? If Flan gets to push him up, your team is just dead. And that is also why it's exactly a 300 critical hit damage. Why Flan crit damage buff can push this up to 350. And healer, I am still shocked you haven't lost to a Cermia with this one. But again, you do use a lot of units that can actually cleanse, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, very solid Cleave Arbiter Vildred, and has room to grow because it's not a red piece, right? So very, very good. Exactly as much critical damage as needed. No stats are really wasted on this. And just enough speed to actually follow up in a cleave. That's cool. Lucy. I don't see Lucy a lot, so I don't know how to tell you how good she is. I am curious if you use her for PvP. Looking at this, I feel like you use her for PvP. For fun. I can tell you use this unit for PvP for fun. Why do I say that? There is no reason Lucy needs as much FRS. Right? For PvE, I think you only need like, what, 130 to be immune to almost all PvE. Right? So you don't need this much FRS to be immune in PvE. So I wonder if he actually uses this for the restrict, just for fun in like PvP, just to have fun. So I like it. I mean, it's cool to see people build units for fun. I am a big fan of people building units for fun. I will never hate on someone that has a unit built just for fun. I think it's good. I think it's unique, and I think everyone should have a unit like that, because at the end of the day, Epic 7 is about having fun, right? So I love seeing builds like this, although I have no clue how this unit would work, which I wish she gave more information on. But, I mean, I love Lucy. She looks really cute. Another Straze. Man, y'all are killing it with the Straze builds. And another really fast Straze. Again, this one looks like the one that Kuma posted. And for this one, it looks like it's the no immunity, which means that Politis can actually hit him. But we do see Hellcutter as the artifact selection. Why is Hellcutter so interesting to me? Because with Hellcutter, theoretically, if you have like 1 or 2 units following up, you can increase your attack a lot more and make it so you don't necessarily need attack buff, right? So it gives you a pseudo attack buff, kind of, that will help you open, and it makes it so you don't necessarily need attack buff, right? So it's an opener Straze that is non-reliant, right? It's not salt, it's a sin. How to get Lucy? She is an event limited unit. I don't know when they're going to rerun that event. We got it in December last time, and you can only get her from that event. So if we do get a rerun for Lucy, it will be in December. After a couple of reruns, they will allow you to get it through the game in other means. Kind of like Cermia, that they let you get her in other means. But yeah, pretty cool Straze. Surin, again, another spicy Surin. We talked about her before. Again, very solid Surin, really high attack, really good crit damage, a little bit higher speed than the other one we saw. We also do see Moonlight Dreamblade again. This is more to counter Bazaar, but I still like the more aggressive one with things like whatchamacallit? What was the name of it? Oh, Basket. That's the one. Basket just does more damage, but Moonlight Dreamblade has more chance to cheese. And Snowfield, you're right. It's not the December one. The December one is F10. I confused them. I don't know why I was thinking about them. The Elena and Ray side story was Christmas. The Lucy was Valentine's Day this year. They changed it for so the roses may bloom. Right? So I wonder if they'll do that so the roses may bloom. I think that one you can already do on your own. But for the Lucy one, that one was a Valentine's one. You're right. That was a Valentine's one. Because there was a chocolate skin. But yeah, this is for the cheese, right? Which is why Moonlight Dreamblade. It's for cheesing in defense. And at this point, honestly, Surin is mostly just an arena defense unit, so Moonlight Dreamblade makes a lot of sense, right? For cheesing Bazaar. Because if Bazaar misses on her, it can make the cleave a little bit more dangerous, and it makes it so LQC may not actually kill the Surin with the splash. Omega Nuke LQC. So yeah, this one, so it's very similar to the one we saw before, where it has really high critical hit damage. And the reason for having the high critical hit damage is because you're able to one-shot one unit reliably. For this one, we do see the Hellcutter instead though, and we do see significantly tankier stats, which means that the only way you're stopping this LQC is going to be if you control her. If you don't control her, you are losing a unit, because with this Hellcutter stacks, you will get quite a lot of attack, and with this crit damage, you're one-shotting almost anything in this game, right? So with this, it is going to kill almost anything in this game, and that's the idea of this LQC, is once you get ramped up, once the opponent takes a turn, they have to say goodbye to one of their units, because LQC is going to be dunking on them. So although the splash is not going to be as high as a dedicated splash LQC, it is going to be killing the target of your choice really well. It's really good for anti-Ruel, right? That's one of the reasons that's really good. We see another Rylet. We did see another Rylet before. Again, this one is not as strong as the other ones that we have seen. It's a little bit less bulky, a little bit less damage. But, I mean, again, it's on the path to being a good Rylet. Again, Rylet, what you would want in the future is more bulk. I love the crit damage. If you could get the crit damage and give him like 200 more defense, 2k more attack, or 2k more health, 200 more defense, he'd be a very solid Rylet, right? So it's something that Rylet is a whale unit. It's a very hard unit to build, so you have a pretty solid Rylet for your intents and purposes. So again, you don't need something incredibly strong for him to do his job. But yeah, 2k more attack would also be good, right? Rylet is a very hard unit to build. It is not an easy unit to build. Kitty Carlissa used to get Robbie access to S3. Ooh, so another fun Kitty Cat build. Kitty Cat also really good for Guild Wars, just because in the past there's a lot of control type units, and what Kitty Cat does that other cleansers can't is Kitty Cat can actually be aggressive, right? So with this build, you have well over 230 Effectress, right? And with Kitty Cat, you're able to cleanse and dual attack with a unit, and for him, he uses it with Robbie. I love Kitty Cat, so this is a very solid Kitty Cat. Just all in all, very, very solid Kitty Cat. It's bulky, it has the efforts it needs, and it can go before bruisers, and it can cleanse, and it goes after the opponent, so you're able to cleanse fully. Pretty standard stuff. I mean, Kitty Cat is a pretty cool unit, right? She's definitely usable, and she's pretty good for PvE as well, although PvE is a little bit different. Slope of Vel, huh? I'm curious on this one. The damage is ridiculous. By the way, I don't know if y'all seen if y'all seen the damage stats on this and the CP. This is insane. As far as damage stats, this is ridiculous. This build was insane, dude. As far as damage stats. And the speed is not even that slow, right? So for a cleave, if you have the souls, this is going to do so much damage. This is really unique for things like Elena. I could see this being really good for anti-Elena. Because if you push up with something like a Flan or with the Oxlots, right? You can one-shot the Elena and do really good AoE damage, right? It's pretty unique. You typically don't see Pavel being the cleaver, right? Because his S2 damage is not ridiculous, right? It's more of a setup skill. But this is very interesting. Cleavers like this, I'm always interested in how they incorporate it into the cleaves. But clearly this guy has really great gear. So I imagine he has some really unique cleaves, right? And I see the Cowrick there as well. So probably a very unique cleaver. Very, very unique cleaver. We do see another lifesteal Stene. This is by far probably one of the better lifesteal Stenes that we've seen. I really like the offensive stats. I really like the defensive stats. And I really like the speed is okay, right? So pretty solid lifesteal. I mean, lifesteals are very hard to build. The only thing would be you could definitely always get bulkier, right? And here's a rule with Stenes. And this is something that I just have noticed. If you have a Stene or a Straze, or not a Straze, an Arby or a Kise, there's a rule that there will always be a better of that unit. There will always be a better Stene. There will always be a better Arby than yours, right? It's just a fact of life, because those units are units that people invest so much in that it's really, really hard to have, quote unquote, the best of, right? But it's very solid, right? I mean, it's going to get the job done, and it's going to do it well, right? Very, very solid Stene. Immunity top model Luca. Wow, I am shocked at how good offensive stats, speed, and everything you got her with immunity. That's crazy. For reference, if he was to switch out the immunity set for a crit rate set, he could that's essentially what, 2.5 rolls. So he could make it up and have an extra 8 speed instead of immunity. So 8 speed or immunity set. This is crazy though. This is really good time on Luca. What's nice about immunity is sometimes you do get outsped by some Arbiter Vildreds. Although I highly doubt any Arbiter Vildred is outspeeding you at this point. But against those pesky ones, it's really good. And against Cermia, you're not getting stunned, right? So this is a very, very good time on Luca. This is very good. Wow, this is crazy. The more I look at it, the more I'm like, for immunity, this is amazing. This is great. It's perfect. I mean, there's no way to disrupt her unless you outspeed her or kill her, right? So that's the only way to disrupt. So Cermia is a way that I actually speed contest Tamaluluka. I can't do that against this one. So if I try to speed contest this Tamaluluka, not only am I going to lose, most likely, but my Cermia is not stunning. So very, very solid. Another Dark Corvus. Again, another unit that I really don't know too much of. I see the Durandal. Really good HP. Solid defense. I mean, Empress is still high enough. It's not going to get hit by Surin. It doesn't need Strict Gauntlet, right, to be able to do it. So just an overall solid Dark Corvus. Really good speed compared to the other one we saw. So it's a little bit faster. I'm a fan of that because Dark Corvus takes so long sometimes. And the Durandal as well makes you cycle faster. Again, Dark Corvus only needs to be as good as he needs to be for Guild Wars. But for this one, it is very solid. I like the F-Res, I like the speed, I like the artifact choice. He always is already paired with a cleanser, so it doesn't really is like super crazy for him to set Strike's Gauntlet. So having the Durandal makes it so he can actually take more turns, which means he can get to S3 a lot quicker. Fallen Cecilia. Oh, this makes me want to throw up. This actually makes me want to throw up. I've seen Rios. I've seen this FCC before. So this player, he has the tankiest units I've seen in my life. 32k HP Fallen Cecilia. Imagine you're just trying to fight, and every time this Fallen Cecilia takes a turn, you're dealing with an almost 5k barrier. That starting team, if you don't have a stripper, you're dealing with an Arbiter Vildred that could be a full DPS Arbiter Vildred that now has 14k, quote unquote 14k HP. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. You are fighting a almost 5k barrier at the start of the fight. If you are not stripping these barriers, all the units on his teams are bruisers at the start of the fight. He turns every unit in this game into a bruiser. This is gross. This actually makes me want to throw up. This is disgusting. It's great. It's great. I mean, this is toxic. It's toxic. I'm going to give it an emote. But it's an amazing Fallen Cecilia, right? Oh, I can't emote it. Oh, it's probably because I'm zoomed in. That's just disgusting, right? This is just disgusting. This makes me queasy. This is just... Can Abusa Straze kill this? Yes. This still dies to Straze, by the way. Why? She's getting penned. A Straze with no attack buff? Oh no. Without attack buff, your Straze is not killing. If you don't have attack buff, you're not killing this Fallen Cecilia. She has 36,000 attack. You have to realize she starts the game with 36,000 attack. If your Straze does not have attack buff, you are not killing this Fallen Cecilia. So, take it as you will. Pretty disgusting. Another cleave Arbiter Vildred. Oh man, this cleave Arbiter Vildred is disgusting. So this person gave up a little bit more of the speed for a ton more attack. Wow, that's a lot of damage. If you gap with this Arbiter Vildred, say goodbye to the enemy team, man. If you gap with this, you can just say goodbye to your team. If this thing gaps, just say goodbye. GG. That's just dummy. I actually want to see how much damage this does. Granted, this is probably used with a flan, right? But I'll assume with no flan. Imagine he just wakes up with attack buff. Let's give him that gab. Let's see how much this actually does when he comes back to life. So just raw, no nothing. He'll do 21,000 against the squishy. Nice. Nice. And I feel like against a bruiser, 15,000 raw with soul burn with Gab. That's more. That's like 60-70%. That's crazy. And imagine this is a flan. If this is flanned up, he gets an extra what? 30%? You can almost outright kill a team with Arbiter Vildred if you can. So that's gross. That's disgusting. That's really good. Several clouds, Tamaluka. We've seen some crazy Tamalukas. So overall, this is a good Tamaluka. I think this is very similar to mine, actually. It's a very solid Tamaluka for what it's worth. But from the Tamalukas we've seen, there's been some crazy ones that we've seen. We've seen immunity ones, and we've seen like pure damage ones that just like blow these men out of the water. But again, it's still a very good one. Still gonna do its job. It's exactly like mine, actually. I think you and me have like very similar Tamalukas, except yours is slightly faster, while mine has a little bit more damage. Yeah, yours is actually better. Just strictly better. Yep. Just strictly better. So several clouds, you have a better Tamaluka than me. But against those other people, man, those other people really like the Tamalukas. Holiday Youthfiend Seer Imprint uses an opener sub DPS for cleaving, testing between Trophy, Draco, and Hellcutter. What the hell? Why? That's crazy. Wait, why though? That's weird. I get that it's an opener, but that's... Huh. And it's still an immunity, by the way. I mean, no Basar is ever outspeeding you. Imagine you were trying to cleave him with Cermia and Basar, and you see the Holiday Youthfiend, and you're like, and they ban your opener, and you're like, oh, I'm chilling. He doesn't have a speed contester. And then you get outsped by a Holiday Youthfiend. Then you're just screwed. That's crazy. And it's pretty good damage, too. Wow. I mean, it's not an anti-Basar Holiday Youthfiend, but I will give it big points for uniqueness. As an opener. This is really solid as an opener. I can kind of see it working. Yes, Ray, if you can get that on a T-Cern, that's a very solid T-Cern. On lifesteal, of course. It's really good. And yeah, several times those people had insane ones. Very good. Anti-Cerising for sure is going to do its job. I think yours is actually faster than my Cerise, though. Imagine I try to Cerise you and you just outspeed my Cerise. That would make me so sad. This Emoken. Ooh, full damage Emoken. I like this Emoken a lot, too. The other one we saw with the attack set, this one sacrificed a little bit of the bulk for more critical hit damage, right? So, very good Emoken. People with Emoken that have been posting them, I'm curious, how often do you use them? Right? It's so sad to me that the full damage ones can't really function that well anymore. Makes it kind of sad, actually, that they're not as popular. That you kind of have to do an Elris build so you don't get locked down by other things. But all in all, this is a very solid Emoken. Again, really, really, it's what you want. Cleave Emoken. This is good. This is unique. What I like about this a lot is the fact that it's still bulky. It has dummy attack. And even though you may be wondering, is this Elris enough? Honestly, yes. For the most part, this is good enough. I mean, again, you're not dodging F10As. You're not dodging Cerises. You're not dodging Falconeer Cluries for the most part. So this is okay. I mean, the other ones may dodge Falconeer Clury. This one's not, though. So, but overall, this is cool. 350 crit damage. You actually maxed up. You capped them out. And he has really good attack. So we were just talking about no damage Emokens. It looks like you were able to make it work somehow. And the thing about it, it's just like mostly purple gear and free gear. So you could theoretically make him tankier or more Elris, right? I'm excited to see if you optimize this build more. I kind of like this one. Although I still would like a life. I think I want a lifesteal one. Oh yeah, I just realized that this is lifesteal too. Wow, this is really good Emoken. Wait. I just realized. Going back to this one's lifesteal. This one just went up on my list of how good this Emoken is. I really like this Emoken actually. This is peak Emoken. I think by far this is the best Emoken I've seen today. Because of the lifesteal set. And because of how high the Elris is and everything else. I think this is by far the best one I've seen. Violet. We haven't seen a lot of them. Optimized crit rate, I like it. I like it. Good speed, really good bulk, and really solid attack stats. 10 out of 10. I like it. Again, we saw another one that had a pen set earlier on in the stream, which I think is the best one. But this one does have more bulk than that other one that we saw. So, slightly different. And the more bulk, I actually like a lot. Because he'll be able to survive longer. He'll be able to pop off longer. He has more chances to pop off. He has more chances to mess up the opponent. It's very, very spicy. Dizzy, another unit we never see. Wow, that is a fast Dizzy. Abyssal Crown, though. Is this an anti-cleave tech Dizzy? That's what it feels like, right? Because with the Abyssal Crown, you can actually stun some of those cleave teams, right? Or aggro team. This is a counter aggro team Dizzy. I can see it working just because of the Abyssal Crown. No level of Islando means you can't really use her into bruisers. But with Abyssal Crown, this is spicy. I like it. For anti-aggro and anti-cleaving, it's potentially a really good Dizzy. Right? So I like it. I like that Dizzy a lot, actually. Beast Charles. For your Charles is by far one of the best Charles I've seen still. You really commit a lot to this Charles. So, Hufer is someone that has not given up on old man Charles and has given him some crazy good gear. If y'all don't know, over 2k attack on Charles and this much crit damage is ridiculous with how much bulk this guy has, right? So, very, very good Charles. And I know I use him for Guild Wars. I know I use him for RTA. I mean, Charles is still... it's just not his meta. Old man Charles is too old for the meta. But he's still... I mean, with this build, you can definitely get some dubs. It's very, very solid. Bring it with Maid and FCC. That's like overcap Efres. With Maid, this is a counter F10 and MLK at this point. This is a counter to control. At this point, with this much Efres, you're just not getting debuffed by anything. And imagine if you gave him Sigret Scythe too, or if you gave him Strake's Gauntlet just for funsies. It's really good. That's really good. You would need 135 plus effectiveness. And if you pair with Maid, that's an extra 20, 40. So if you gave him Gauntlet, that's 300 Efres. So if you wanted to take this into Guild Wars, he could have given him Gauntlet, made him 300 Efres. You would only get... Some F10s would still hit, of course. Some people have like 230 effectiveness F10, but that's so high. I mean, for the most part, you're not getting hit by anything. No, I'm saying the Maid Chloe passive because he says he brings it with Maid. This is what I'm talking about. With Maid, there's an extra 20%. I'm sorry if that didn't seem that clear. With Maid Chloe, it's an extra 20%. That's what I was taking into consideration. The fact that he uses it with Maid Chloe. So it's 255 is what I'm looking at. The passive is already taken into consideration. 255 F-Press, that blocks 155 effectiveness. Unless you have a very dedicated debuffer, like a Fairy Tail Tenebria. And even then, you only have like a 50-50 with some of the best Fairy Tail Tenebrias, right? So for the all intents and purposes, very anti-control. Very, very, and yeah, if it's imprinted, it's 40%, and I think he does have a max imprint. So theoretically, this is a 275 ER MLK, which is why I say it's basically immune, right? Basically. Oh my god, I cannot believe Healer put this one in here. All right, so this is something that he's been playing around with, and it's called Promoka. He titled it this. He called this Promoka. Why did he call this Promoka? You may be wondering, right? You're about to see in a second. Do y'all see this? He calls it Promoka because it's proof of valor Tomoka. So he calls it Promoka. The idea behind this is you bait the opponent into trying to one-shot you with their Arbiter Vildred, right? And when they fail, that's when you actually go in for the S3 after you've poked down the Arbiter Vildred a little bit. It's very cheese. It's very interesting, but you gotta give credit where credit is due, right? It is unique. So I gotta give credit where credit is due. It is unique. And again, I am all for people using unique builds, right? So Promo code. Just let them sink in. So that's the idea behind it. He kind of walked me through it. He has used her, and apparently has a 100% win rate. He's used her 4 times already, with a 100% win rate. So hey, take it as it is, right? So yeah, it's he. Just so y'all know, before y'all hate on this build, you have to remember he almost made legend in RTA this season, right? And this is the type of gear quality and builds that he used to almost get there. So he's just too smart for this game, man. Healer's just too smart from this game. Every time I see his units, I like shake my head and I'm like, I just know it's gonna be something weird. And he even pushed the soul bad guy meta into higher up to counter cleave. Oh my god, Hours, I cannot believe you put this here too. Y'all are actually just trolling me. Red Frog, I actually know what this guy does. So let me actually look him up. Because Hours and Healer have been talking. Both of them, by the way, legend level players, right? Both these guys are legend level players, and they were talking about this being a legitimate strategy that they want to use in RTA. So let's see Red Frog. Why? Why Red Frog? Ours is a cleaver too. What would it be? Is it a magical creature? I'm never gonna find this frog, am I? I'm never gonna find this frog. Is it a beast? It is a beast. Alright. Helmeted Flux. What does this guy do that they actually want to build it? They're trolling! They're trolling! Oh my god. Imagine losing to Frog, man. Hey, 20% is 20%, right? I gotta give him, I mean, if I saw this in RTA, I would just... You're wildin'. Ours, by the way, is a cleave player, so that's why he actually used this for fun for the clip, and it actually worked, right? Because I think he gave it the Cermia gear, and it actually like outsped and actually won him an RTA fight. So he actually gave it to him. He actually gave him the Cermia gear just to do this. His Cermia is 305 speed, so you'll know how abysmal this speed is. So this is Cermia gear. He tried it out for Arena just for the clip and for the memes, and it worked out. So I love it. I love it. I love it. This is a very traditional Challenger nominee, right? This is what I would expect from a very traditional Challenger nominee. Over 4k attack, 350 crit damage, about 200 speed so you don't get cut in easily. Low crit rate. The only thing with this low crit rate is going to be that against Politis, you're kind of in a corner. But if you're using Politis, it doesn't matter. If you're using it for Arena, it doesn't matter. If you're using it for Guild Wars, it doesn't matter. It's optimized at that point. So very, very overall solid, right? Very, very solid Challenger Nami. It's very standard, but I like it, right? This is very traditional cleave Challenger Nami. This is what most Challenger Namis aspire to be, right? Free gear Dark Corvus. I love it. I love it. I mean, the only difference we see from this one versus other ones is that the other ones were a lot faster or had more FRS, right? But again, as we mentioned with Dark Corvus, all Dark Corvus needs to do is survive an S3, right? So, good times. Good times. Dark Corvus, always good times. And me too, Moises. Me too. I missed them. They got poached, though. We lost our 2 legend players in our guild. Feels bad. Control a Tywin. Ah, yes. This is what I think is the optimized a Tywin build now. I still would like to see this on immunity. I don't think you're getting a lot out of the effectiveness set. Although an immunity set would go a lot further. And a little bit more speed. That's it. If you can get more speed and more effectiveness on this, that's the Tywin I want as well. Right? Why? Effectiveness a Tywin now is a lot better because if your immunity is not as common anymore, and people will not expect you to use effectiveness, they're going to be expecting you to use damage, right? So if you're able to hit the tanks with this, that's a whole turn taken away, right? So it's very good. I mean, it's a little bit overkill with the effectiveness set, but this can actually hit make Chloe's, right? So it's not bad, but I would prefer immunity and losing a little bit of effectiveness. But this is good. That's what I would like to see. That's good. That's a good Etat win. Rose cleave. If y'all didn't know, Rose is struggling right now because of Politis. It's not great because of Politis. It sucks that Politis has shut out Rose. I think Rose is such a great unit. But for the most part, Rose has been shut out by Politis as far as cleave. It's just not the greatest time for her, although she still has a very unique S3. This is an amazing Rose, though, because Rose does not have the greatest speed, right? And the fact that you got 270 speed and made her dummy tanky, this is going to be really annoying to take away. The Warnhorn is also pretty unique. Just in case you do get outsped, you're able to cut into a cleave, right? So you can survive and, like, counter cleave, right? So that's cool. For counter cleaving, for, like, a counter bruiser cleave, this is really cool. I still want a Rose like this. I still want to use Rose more because I have a lot of units. But yeah, she kind of got shut out by Politis and by other DPS, other contesters. So it's not her meta. There's a lot more threats to her than normal, which is why she's not seeing as much play. Although I love this build. Senya, oh my goodness. All right, this best Senya I've ever seen in my life. No one can tell me they've seen a better Senya than this. This is arguably the best Senya that you'll see ever, right? Attack, insane. Tank stats, solid. Speed, solid. This has everything you could want. 6k attack, and she is the person that also put the 300 crit damage Lilias, right? So she uses a Lilias cleave for Guild Wars and for Arena and for RTA. This is the best Senya you'll see. The reflect damage that this is going to do is ridiculous, right? The reflect damage that this does is going to be crazy. This paired with Lilias is going to be great, right? Granted, it doesn't have the effectiveness with some of the stuff, but this is an amazing Senya, right? And Spear Dawn, I still prefer Elris, but for the most part, it's used for Lilias, right? Right? So it's a very, very solid Senya for cleaving with Lilias. It'll get the job done, right? It's a Lilias cleave Senya, right? Yeah, and it has a lot of room to grow. So that's crazy. So this one, asking if you're on the right track, Alex, looking at it, as far as offensive stats, so I like the pen set. Pen set is great, right? And I can see that you don't have this Reforged. I would drop you should drop the crit damage a little bit. It's okay to have 250 crit damage. I would rather see the HP be a lot bulkier, closer to 14-15k. So the reason I say that is because Violet's only real water counter is Crow, right? Violet's only real water counter is Crow, and the way that you stop Crow from countering Violet is by stacking HP on your Violet. So if you're able to get your Violet closer to 15k HP, you'll be able to actually survive those Crow horses. I would sacrifice a little bit of speed and a little bit of crit damage for more attack, more defense, and a lot more health, right? And you can even lower a little bit more speed. Do you still need speed boots for Violet? So we did some testing in RTA with Violet, and I tried them on a build that didn't use speed boots, and it was really good against F10A, but for everything else wasn't enough. And yeah, I know that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's on the right track though. I think more tanky, and it's on the right track. But again, I would say that 85% crit is the best thing you can have. The speed is nice though. I will say having more speed is really, really nice. And of course, the more damage, the better. But the fact that you have pen set, that's amazing, right? Not a lot of people are going to have pen set, and that bumps your damage up a lot. So you're definitely on the right track, Alex. It's actually a pretty solid Violet. Oh, it'll be a really solid Violet. And you can bump up that HP, and you can drop some of the speed. He doesn't need to be that fast, right? You can drop some of the speed, give him more bulk, drop some of the crit damage, give him more attack, and have more rounded Violets. And you'll be on your way. So, very solid so far. Dark. That's crazy. This, I imagine, is going to be for... And yes, MLDB is the best artifact for Violet. I don't think another artifact for Violet works. I think MLDB is kind of tied to Violet forever. This, I could see being disgusting in Guild Wars. And for Arena. For those two places, this is gross, right? Because you're killing Royals with this. You're killing a majority of tanks with this, honestly. Right? This is so much damage. You get the extra turn for free. So as far as damage, this is amazing for Guild Wars. It's amazing for Arena. And again, not every unit needs to be godlike for RTA. not everyone is an RTA player, right? And that's something that even I forget sometimes, and you guys know I forget sometimes. But for Arena and for Guild Wars and for all intents and purposes, this Melissa, really good. It's going to kill anything, right? It's going to kill anything. It's disgusting. Hada Euphine Season. So we just saw a super dummy fast Hada Euphine, and now we see more of a bulky one. We see Sigurd Scythe, which works for the lower than normal defense, right? And I like how much damage stats you have, actually. I really like the damage stats. I like how high the HP is. My only complaint would be the defense feels a little bit low. But with Sigurd Scythe, that's pretty unique. That'll definitely be annoying to take down, right? Granted, with the lower defense, you can actually one-shot her and make it so Sigurd Scythe doesn't trigger. So that's the only thing, Retro. Besides that, I think she looks amazing. If you can bump up that defense, she's going to be insane. Like, if you can get this to 1,300, I think that's an insane Holiday Yuffie. It's something that I would really want to use, right? So very, very good one. Lastly, it some bulk and some nice damage and nice damage numbers. This is a really solid Rylet as well. So we've seen a lot of Rylets today. This one, again, a lot of people seem to like the more aggressive build, including myself, right? You have a strictly better Rylet than me. It's a lot faster, so you can actually take some turns. It has 100% crit rate, and it has really good offensive stats while still having some bulk. So I like this Rylet the most because it can take a couple of hits, but it also does the damage that it needs to do to one-shot bruisers and knights, right? I'm a big fan of this Rylet build. We've seen quite a few. I personally don't think he needs immunity, and which means you can even get higher stats. But aside from like more consistency against Cermia, right? That's the main reason you have immunities, for more consistency against Cermia. I don't think he needs it, personally. I don't think Riley needs the immunity, and I can't imagine if this was a crit rate set, you could get so much more damage stats, right? So that's really cool, right? But again, it gives you more consistency of things like against fucking Clury, and against things like Cermia. You add an extra layer of RNG that you normally don't have, which can be a lot more valuable. So again, it's a perfect build. This is incredibly good. I don't want to say it's not. It's disgustingly good. I want a Rylet like this. Zero Imprint Speed Straze. Pretty solid, right? This will do its job, right? We've seen a lot of Strazes. Again, we see this one with immunity as well. So he can't get controlled by things like Cermia. So he can actually take his turn. Also against things like Politis, as mentioned before. So he doesn't get stripped, doesn't get glancing hit in case you decide to go with a more unique cleave. So all in all, very solid Straze. We've seen a lot of them, so again, it matches up with those. It's a very solid Straze. Shiki, your Rylet. Oh! This is good. I don't see Speed Rylets anymore, and I actually think Speed Rylet is actually very viable in today's meta. Because there are so many squishy, aggressive teams that if you're able to outspeed them, you can one-shot their DPS or even their supports. So this is really cool. This will kill most things. I actually really like this, right? This used to be the old school Rylet. And I think right now, it can make a comeback, and I think it can be good in the right team, especially with aggro teams, right? Because it's so good to have a good Rylet right now, especially if you're cleaving. You could also use this for cleave, right? That's what I really like Speed Rylet. If you decide to go aggressive with this, you can do a full burst turn 1 and still have some survivability to follow up. So this is an amazing Rylet. Made Chloe. We did see another one that was super high FRS. This one is dummy tanky, and it's a setup one. So you see the speed. This will let him go first before his team, allowing him to set up the attack buff. Very tanky, making it really annoying to take down so you can't get one shot easily. And then, of course, the FRS, so you don't get provoked by things like Von Celia, Crawl. You also have to remember she has the passive that gives her 20 extra. And the Wondrous Potion Vial to be annoying. Very annoying, Made Chloe. This is what I would expect all Made Chloes to kind of look like when I go against them, which is why I usually don't try to one-shot Made Chloes, is because they could be this disgustingly tanky. Ammo Cowrick. Yes, you play him. Oh my goodness. So again, Ammo Cowrick, kind of a weird unit, but this is the build I would expect to see on an Ammo Cowrick, and this is disgustingly good. For an Ammo Cowrick, this is very well built. Why do I say it's very well built? Very bulky, right? This is really bulky, hard to take down. Really good speed, so you get to cleanse and set up immunity and attack buff very early in the fight. And the FRS, you are potentially dodging a majority of F10s, right? Besides those 200 effectiveness Compass F10s, you are most likely going to be dodging almost every debuff. So With that, you're going to be setting up attack buff, you're going to be setting up immunity, and you're going to be cleansing. Really, really solid Emil Cowrick, right? So I'm curious how you use him, because I know he's not a bad unit. The S3 is disgustingly good. It's just people opt to use Maid or General Purgus over Emil Cowrick, but he can actually work. Let me see, how many more do we have? We'll go back up. Oh man, we're not too far off. We're almost done. Nice. I say that, and there's gonna be like a million builds posted in the next 2 seconds. Okay, never mind. We're not close at all. I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish them all in this stream, but I will leave them up. So we were here at the Mediator Cowrick, and right afterwards we get an Otil. Budget F10. The build is it's a very free-to-play build, so I'm kind of curious to see what she does. Let me see what she actually does. I've actually never seen what Otil does. I actually haven't read what all the units do. Otil is again proc silence and no buff. Her passive can do AoE, only damage reduction, and her S1 can proc unhealable. Sounds like she has a lot of stuff. Let me read it actually. She's another unit that might get an SC, which is why I'm actually curious to read. And I believe she's a mage too. So unhealable, nothing crazy. I mean, unhealable. Receive less damage from attacks of target enemies. Huh. This is better than Elena's passive. This is better than Elena's passive. Granted, it doesn't heal, but it's more reduction than Elena. As far as damage reduction, it's more than Elena. Right? It's like 30%. Yeah, it's 30%. That's way more than Elena. Granted, it doesn't heal. But 30% AoE damage reduction, that's like everyone on your team having Proof of Valor against an AoE unit. Pretty good, actually. And making it unable to be... I see why you say it's budget F10, because this isn't strip. But it's a CR push, silence, and unable to be buffed, right? I wonder if she gets an... if she was to get a SC and gets a strip, this could be really scary, right? If she ever gets a strip, this skill could be so scary. So if she ever gets an EE, or not an EE, SC change, and this skill strips, that's gonna be scary. That's gonna be annoying, actually. She'll actually be a meta defense unit. So it makes sense why you have her the way she is. She shouldn't be too fast because you want the opponent to lose immunity. Guild War main, yes. This is why I say, against all those FRES units that we've seen, why Fairy Tale Tenebria is such a threat for them, and why in Guild Wars you can never assume F10 can't hit. There's nothing you can do about this. If he gives him Curse Compass, that's 270 effectiveness essentially. So, all in all, it's only single target? I thought it was AoE for some reason. Oh, that's sad. I didn't know. I thought this was AoE. Yeah, I'm a little bit more disappointed in this skill now. Never mind. She could be annoying though with this S2. You're right. It's not an AoE skill. I thought it was for some reason. This is gross. Because with Curse Compass, FRES doesn't matter. You're always getting hit by F10. This is why, all in all, the best way to deal with F10 is going to be things like Violet and Earth units. Because you have a higher chance. Oh, it's 40? Curse Compass is that much? That's gross. Wait, now I have to see the Curse Compass, because that's disgusting. Does it really get 50? That's a really big stat boost. Granted, it's only turn 1. It is 50. Wow. This is hitting anything in the game. So, again, this is the reason why F10 has always been... This triggers me a little bit just looking at this. Why it still triggers me a little bit is because... Well, not anymore, because she got a big check. But F10 has essentially power crept every control unit in this game. Because Smogit has released units that are essentially immune to debuffs or can deal with debuffs extremely well because of F10. Because F10 can do something like this. if you don't have RNG ways to resist or to dodge or innate ways to take away buffs, debuffs, nothing in this game can resist. So this, really good at Tenet. This is what you're expecting in high-level Guild Wars, by the way. If you're playing like top 50 Guild Wars, this is what you have to assume. Which is why I am very happy that Dilibet and Violet are both 2 units that are amazing against Fairy Tale Tenebria. They are hard counters to her without necessarily killing control. Right? Especially Violet, because Violet dodges water, not dodge everything. Right? So control still has potential in the future. I'm a control player, so I'm always open. I always like more things. Yes, she could have immunity, but again, not a lot of people try to speed contest a Fairy Tale Tenebria, right? So, what about me? Wasted stats. This is very, very good, Judge Kise. I mean, Judge Kise, 4K attack, 350 crit damage. That's what I would expect. Once you get a Judge Kise to that, it's just she's gonna cleave through almost everything in Arena and Guild Wars, right? And that's all you can do. There's not a lot of room. That's why Judge Kise kind of needs a buff. Because she's just very streamlined. She has one thing, and her one thing to do is cleave, right? So there's not a lot of versatility in the build for her. It's just get the stats and you're done. Kind of like Cdom, where like they don't have a lot of versatility in build path. Granted, she can use a speed build for her, but it's like not as viable, right? And immunity, of course, for Politis, right? So this is how most players have gotten around Politis, has been using immunity on their cleavers. Chu, once reforged, 100 and 250 crit damage. Very solid Chu. Very solid HP, very solid crit damage. Chu, pretty interesting. Not as good as I thought she'd be after the buff, but the thing about it is like, fire units are either broken or do nothing. Right? Because with Chu, it's just like, against Carrot, she kind of still loses because she can't really one-shot Carrot until Carrot already burnt your whole team, right? So granted, she can't counter Carrot later on in the fight, but earlier on, it's like... But I mean, it's a really good Chu. It's going to do a lot of damage, right? It's going to be annoying to take down. Simple unit is interesting to hit Earth units, I imagine, or to do more damage. So, again, pretty good Chu. Not seeing a lot of play, mainly just because Chu is, like, not her meta right now. Seaside Bellona. Oh my god, I hate these Seaside builds. This Seaside is the pure anti-cleave Seasides. This Seaside is strictly there to counter cleave teams and to be disgustingly annoying in a booster team. You sacrifice the early game burst with Seaside for having a monstrosity of a tank that can survive that burst, right? And then just slowly break away squishy teams. This will kill squishy teams, right? This is one of the best ways to counter certain cleaves because they will try to be killing your Seaside, and by the time they're able to deal with her, their whole team has taken a ton of debuffs, a ton of splash damage, and they'll probably just lose, right? This is probably one of the best ways to counter. Anus and Suo, one of the best Guild Wars defense right now is Kise, Arby, and Mui. That's like the most meta defense right now for Guild Wars. That most people seem, it's very RNG, which is why it's very good. But that's one of the most meta ones for higher level up, right? Not a lot of people lower down have it because the speed gear is not as prevalent. Which is why lower down there's not any like really oppressive defenses right now. People still use the Fawn Cecilia T Surin variant, and I don't think it's that great. A Fawn Cecilia, I mean, it's a really solid Fawn Cecilia. There's not, after seeing that 32,000 HP one, but what I like about this one over the big bulky ones is going to be how fast this one is, because this means you can actually cycle, right? And more cycling means more barriers, means more annoying. So I'm a big fan of these fast FCCs over the full bulk ones because you still have really good bulk, but you're actually able to cycle, provoke down a unit is really nice. And then on top of all that, cycling barrier. So I like it a lot. Pavel, oh my god. This is a cleave Pavel. There's a sub for Mui. Mui's really good. Mui is a really good unit, especially for Arena too. But this is the Pavel. I mean, this is what I would expect the Pavel to look like. I've seen faster ones with about the same damage, but for all intents and purposes, this is what I would expect the Cleaver's Pavel to look like. Fast, high damage. If you have souls, you're still one-shotting a unit and you're setting up the rest of your team. Really solid Pavel. Really, really solid Pavel, right? He does the job. Oh, a sub character. It's kind of hard to sub Mui. The big thing for Mui is the fact that she's able to strip and set up attack buff, right? That's the biggest thing with Mui. Because she's so fast, she can strip, and the EE that people sometimes like to give is the one that gives an extra turn, because then you have a unit that can strip at the beginning of the fight, give attack buff to your RB and to your Kise, so there's no RNG for them getting attack buffs, strip the opponent so they're taking the debuffs from RB, and also if you get that 30% with their EE, then you're able to go in with that S2 and stun the opponent, right? So you're able to strip everyone, set up attack buff, and stun. Right? Not a lot of units can do that. The only thing that I can think of that could even come close to that would be like an Abyssal Crown Bazaar. But then you don't get, unless your other two units have gap. Right? That's the most meta defense, but it's really hard to build, which is why it's only endgame. Lower down, I'm going to be honest with you, I have not seen a standard defense in a very long time. Right? I have not seen a standard defense. And usually the Mui is on the EE that gives her an extra turn after S3. Right, that's the one that people like to use because RNG, right? At worst, you get a good attack buff. At best, you're stunning the opponent, right? Very, very... Mui's disgusting, apparently, because it's so good. The extra turn E is what you put on her. But again, it's very hard to make that defense, which is why only top-level guilds use it. Aside from that, right now, there is no standard defense. Because there are so many good offensive units, there's just no... solid one. Can a fast operator Sigret replace? To an extent, yeah. Because you set up the attack buff and you set up the rest of your team. But it's just not as threatening as a Mui. Because you're not stripping barriers. You're not stripping all this other stuff. You're not potentially stunning, right? Yes, you need a 300 speed Mui. That's why it's so... Or like 290 speed Mui. It's a very hard defense. Which is why I wouldn't recommend it, right? But if you can do it, it's one of the best defenses out there because it's so RNG. But aside from that, some people like to use Rylet, like pure damage. They've tried pure damage Rylet defenses with Cermia is also kind of popular right now. Because with Cermia, you're able to strip and you can dual attack with the Rylet. And then the Rylet is really high attack. So he's able to actually kill things like Doris, right? If they try to protect against them, he can potentially kill the Doris. And then I forgot what the third unit is usually with those teams, right? But that one is a little bit more unique and a little bit harder to do. And the Cermia is there to try to stop cleave, right? But you still lose the fucking clearing. Make Charon great again. I agree. As a whole, I mean, this is a very standard Charon. Surprisingly high speed for this Charon because it's on counter set. So I'm actually surprised how fast he was able to get him with the damage stats that he has. Really solid Charon, actually. But right now, Charon is not his meta. Very solid counter Charon. Ruel of Light. I'm shocked how much ER this person was able to get on this Ruel. Triple effect. Ooh, that's why. Triple effect rest. This Ruel is still quite tanky. And the F-res is ridiculous. Only things like dedicated debuffers like F10 are going to hit this. Right? That's it. That's literally the only thing that's going to hit this Ruel. Very solid. Very, very good Ruel. I really like that. It's a little weird. It's one of those things where F-res, it's like, how high do you want it? Because at some point, it's like, you're already over-capping for the role that you're trying to do. But if you're trying to cheese some F10s that are more the cleave F10s, this is really good, right? Spin Jutsu, another F10. This one is a really unique F10. It's a slow F-res F10. Turn 2 F10. I mean, it can work. I could see it working. Why can I see it working? The opponent is going to guard against a turn 1 F10. It's going to try to put cleansers that are fast. So after they cleanse, it's when you come in, right? Or after they make Chloe Ghost, then you're going, right? So turn 2 F10, I mean, it can work. And it could definitely work. And the F-res is so they can't control her down with things like Packety Clary, right? So I like it. It's unique. It's a playstyle thing that if you're someone that doesn't have a lot of speed gear and you kind of just want to play a bruiser team, this can be really good. Slow F10. So they lose their immunity and then and their strips and all this stuff, and then is when you set up. You don't see any Ravis. I've seen a lot of Ravis, but for a Ravi, wow. That's really good. JP server, man. I'm kind of worried once JP comes to global. Because this is a really strong Robbie. Really great offensive stats, and the defensive stats are ridiculous too. This is a really good Robbie. Wow. I'm worried about JP server now. Once JP server gets to RTA, we're kind of screwed. Man. And he's like an earlier game player too. Quote unquote earlier. I don't know how early he is, but now I'm scared, man. I'm really scared for JP server. Yeah. If this, he is like, I think, challenger in arena. And there's no, I don't think they do a lot of RTA. And this is what they have. I'm scared when JP comes. FCC. So this is a very, oh, it's a Bruiser FCC. So you haven't seen one of these. Bruiser FCC, a little bit on the slower side. Still pretty bulky and good damage stats. This is mainly if you're using a more aggressive team. I will say I'm not a fan of the no immunity set on Fallen Cecilia because you can get locked down so easily, and her S3 is super critical. But aside from the no immunity, I like the stats for a Booster FCC. Right, with how much damage she has, she'll be packing a punch. Right, a little bit weird with the no immunity though. Aside from that, very, very solid. I like it a lot. Crawl, we haven't seen any Crawl. Man, this Crawl's filthy good. This is what every Crawl aspires to be. This Crawl right here is what every Crawl aspires to be. Perfect FRS. Dodges most like the low, dodges most low F effectiveness units, right? Solid speed, 200 would be nice. Over 25k HP, over 1.5k defense. There's nothing more you can want from Crawl. This is a perfectly solid Crawl. Perfectly built. This is like what everyone aspires to have their Crawl speed, right? No complaints about this Crawl. SSS Crawl main, I can see that this is SS Crawl main. So again, no complaints on this one. This is probably like, I mean, it's textbook perfect. Textbook perfect. The only thing is like if he got to 200 speed, that's it, and 28k HP, and then he has the best Crawl ever, right? But aside from that, this is probably one of the best Crawls you'll ever see. This is a textbook almost perfect Crawl. Immunity set 2, almost perfect Crawl basically, or perfect Crawl. This is a perfect Crawl. I'll commit to it. This is a perfect Crawl. Crimson Armin, I hate this unit. This unit's starting to pop up a lot more. Some FRS is actually nice. So again, you can dodge things like FCC, immunity. No immunity though. Huh. I don't know if this FRS is enough to do what you wanted to do with it. I love the HP. I love everything else. I love everything else. I think the FRS is a little bit weird though. I think I would rather drop the effect FRS and get immunity set on her. Because that S3 is so critical, I wouldn't want to get hit by a Cermia. And this can get hit by Cermia. And by Falconer Clary. So I would prefer if it was immunity. But aside from that, the stats are great. Right? Fast enough. It's perfect. Right? Aside from that, it's pretty solid. It's a little weird. It's a little weird on the FRS side. I think I would rather have immunity set. Arbiter Vildred. Ooh, this is a spicy Arbiter Vildred. This one looks a lot like mine. It's a very standard Arbiter Vildred. This is what, like, every Straze, is Straze a new king in Hunt? Yes. Alpasi, he's amazing for hunts right now. Straze is probably the best hunt unit. Unironically, what really great PvP unit, but insane for hunts. Oh, you can get a 15 speed weapon? Yeah, that's the only thing. Immunity would fit, like, that's a really good Crimson Armin. This Arbiter Vildred is what I expect every late game Arbiter Vildred to be. Right? This is like the standard of like the average late game Arbiter Vildred because so many people go for it. Right? So, and you're here for the F10 in the thumbnail? Yeah, I love the thumbnail for this one. It's great. It's from the Christmas side story. But this is what I expect every single Arbiter Vildred to be. Every late game player is close to having an Arbiter Vildred like that. Like every high champion player, every like some people have better ones, but that's like the standard for an Arbiter Vildred. Right? That's like what everyone will judge an Arbiter Vildred to those standards, right? If you don't meet those standards, you will get judged, right? So for me, I'm undercritted, right? And I'm a little bit slower than his, but a little bit more attack. So this is like golden standard type of Arbiter Vildred. This is what everyone goes for. Golden standard right there. We'll actually change Artie, but I'm happy with that I could get with HP neck. Wow, that is an HP neck? Really solid booster Itaiwan, especially for the artifact being this slow. This low, really great HP. It's really hard to get him this high HP and this high crit rate and crit damage. The only thing I would say, having used Itaiwan a lot, I think immunity is pretty important on him. And by pretty important, I mean really important to have immunity on Itaiwan. But aside from that, great stats. I would honestly change these out for immunity set, even if it means having only 85% crit rate. And again, you have a lot of room to grow with the Elris sword. But aside from that, really solid booster Itaiwan. Qmo Specter Tenebria. This is why people judge Specter Tenebria against Lifesteal. I mean, there's nothing to complain about this Specter Tenebria. Really solid defense. Amazing offensive stats. Really good crit rate. HP is a little low for anti-carrot and anti-L-Crawl. But if you're not taking Stennet into an L-Crawl or into a carrot, you're more than fine. Right? And this is amazing offensive stats. Right? Not a lot of F10s can get this great of offensive stats on lifesteal with this much bulk, right? So as far as Stennis goes, is one of the best Stennis out there, right? Also, ring gonna be changed. Its effectiveness worth it. Honestly, effectiveness on T-Cern is a little weird. I would almost say, I mean, it's fine, right? It can hit some knights, right? It can hit some lower FRS knights, which is what's nice, right? Like, it can potentially hit a crawl, which can be critical in certain situations. It's not wasted, although I really like the offensive stats, though. Most people do have, like, the really good T-Cerns will be 300 critical hit damage and 3,500 attack. So you're pretty close to having one of the better T-Cerns that I've seen, right? And the speed is very solid. So it's looking like a really strong T-Cern. Guider Aether. I have no clue what this guy does, so I cannot give you any, like, I can't even tell if it's good or not, but I can tell just from the damage stats, it's amazing. I don't know if you can use him for PvP or not, or if you do use him for PvP. But I know for PvE, this can actually work really well because he heals based on the attack. He's kind of like a Blaze Dingo in that aspect. Or he gives barriers. I know he's a support that is based on attack, right? And the fact that he has this much damage is pretty interesting. Another Ravi. Wow, this is also a really good Ravi. The other Ravi that we saw was bulkier in defense, but a little bit less HP. This one has a lot more critical hit damage, but less attack. So again, very strong Ravi. I mean, no complaints here. This Ravi is amazing. 100% crit rate is amazing, right? So this is great. Great Ravi. No complaints on here for this Ravi. Very, very solid. Let's see how many more we have because my voice is starting to give out. Man, I don't think we're going to be able to finish it. All right. I'll do 2 more. And then sadly, these are amazing builds. I will leave this up. I'm actually going to lock this channel though. Because I do want to go back and actually add some of these to the I do want to add some of these to the top unit builds, so I don't want it to get too spammed because I saw a lot of really great units that I want to share in the top unit builds. This channel will eventually be deleted. I can't go through all of them sadly because I'm getting really sore voice. I don't know why I'm getting sore voice. I'm usually a lot better about being able to stream for a long time. I don't know what's happening to me. I don't know. One of these days, we'll do a very long stream, and this will be one of the things we do. I think it's because I've talked non-stop, and I haven't drank enough water. So let me take a quick water break. But I'm really happy with how today turned out. I love seeing y'all's builds. They're really amazing. I will leave this up for other people to see and to scroll through, and I will still look through them too, even though you may not be able to post anymore. I probably should have blocked the posting a lot earlier, so it's something that could have gone. But, I mean, overall, I will look through these, and I will tell my mods to look through these, and I will add some of these, because it's a lot more manageable for me to actually look through and add some to the top unit builds. Since I did go through every single one, I know how they look like, right? So, let me go through. And for these last ones, I already lost my spot. I want to see what people are reacting to, and those are the ones that I'm gonna look at that we haven't done before, right? So let me go to the bottom. All right. Is this it? Or did I block? Did I delete something? Or is it just not loading for me? Wait, did it delete a bunch of units? Wait. Or am I in the wrong chat? Okay, I was in the wrong chat. I was gonna say, I was like, this is weird. Woo, I was in the wrong channel. Wait, did I lock the wrong one? Okay, no. I don't know what happened. I was in the wrong one. I'm being boosted. I stopped at the Arby. Yeah, there's too many units for me to get through, realistically. Although they're so great. There's so many great units. So I think we went through most of these. A lot of these. Oh, we did not go over the Ray. Yeah, we were right here, right? So we were right here with the guy that Arthur. I'll do some... This is a really fast Arby. These are the Arby's I hate going against in Arena because they'll outspeed my slow-ass cleave. And then I'll lose because they outspend me in the gap. And I'm just like, oh my god. It makes me big sad. But alright, I'm gonna look for unique ones. If it's a unit we've seen before, I probably won't look at it unless it has a lot of stuff that people are like really... Like something like this I want to look at, right? What the frick? Are you in the chat, Rido? What is this? Why? Just because you can? Why? This is weird. This is weird. I mean, props to you for getting this much defense. Right? I have no idea what you could use this Armin for. Because it's a little bit slow. But with the Elris sword, does it do great damage? I mean, this is crazy. I'll give you credit. I don't think I could get this much defense on a unit. Right? So I'll give you credit where credit is due. I have no idea what this Armin is supposed to do. Counter set, Elris, that stuff's cool. But, why? Why? This can get controlled though. And it probably loses to Carrot. Because Burn penetrates defense. But like, why? 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 It's weird to me. It's weird to me. For fun? I mean, for fun, it looks really fun, right? You're not killing this. Countering cleave, maybe? She can get more defense? Oh my gosh. I think it's one of those things that, I mean, counter set Elris, as long as she's not getting controlled or burnt by Carrot, she'll probably take turns. But, I mean, sure. This is, I'll give you props. This is really cool. I have no clue how you would use this. But I will give you credit for the gear for how much defense this actually has. So, really cool. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Even though I don't know what it's used for, and even though it's odd, it has crit rate, it has crit damage. I wonder if this will bonk super hard. Yeah, kind of crack. Yeah, I'm actually really curious. This defense. Wait, let me see how much an Arbiter Vildred would do. This Arby that we were looking at, right? That was doing this much damage, right? With great attack buff, 5k cleave Arby. Let's put it up against this Armin. Oh, imagine this insane flan buffed Arby with Gab. It only does 7,000 against this thing. And then if it had an Aureus and an Adamant shield protecting it, it's not really taking damage. Yeah, this, I mean, 4k damage, that's like a third. It's like a third. Right? But we're talking about like a flamed up Gap Arby against this monstrosity. It's very weird. You can still die, of course. But all in all, interesting. Very, very interesting. Very tanky. And we saw some crazy Politis. Okay, let me keep going down because I want to look at some of the more unique ones. Pet peeve of mine, but I hate seeing Briar Witch that are like, there's nothing wrong with Briar Witch being this speed or being this much damage or this much effectiveness. It's actually really good, right? The stats are amazing. My pet peeve is seeing them like this with no guiding light or without immunity. But then again, for RTA, for Guild Wars and for Arena, this is perfect, right? This is completely fine for Arena and Guild Wars. For Arena and Guild Wars, this is honestly more than enough. But for RTA, the no guiding light, this just is fodder against control units. Any control unit can just lock her down, and she doesn't get to take her turn. That's just why it's a pet peeve of mine that when I don't see immunity or guiding light on a slower Briar Witch, I'm just like, why? Unless you're using for Arena Guild Wars, and then by that point, you're using it for something different. Ray, we didn't see a single Ray. Cabbage is very proud of this Ray, and I'm pretty proud of it too, because it is very bulky, very good FRS. It's a unique Ray build, which is what I like to see. A pretty unique build. Not a lot of people use Ray. A lot of people assume Ray is squishy, and they will most likely lose. And this Ray is using a Bruiser team, and it is very toxic to get past. We gotta stop with the Bikin. Oh my god, dude. There's so many good units. I'm gonna stay here forever. I still have to make today's video too, which is what makes me really sad. Because I'm not sleeping. But this Bikin, I have to stop at this Bikin. Because what the hell? This is a great Bikin. This is a dream Bikin for some people. I want this Bikin. This looks so fun. To actually do this looks so fun. With this, you can actually, like, kill a lot of things because of this. If they don't have immunity. And then the other thing is, like, man. This is great. I mean, this is so good. I want this so much. I want this Viking. I want this Viking. This looks so fun. This looks so fun. It looks so great. I'm a big fan of this Viking. Jack, I'm a big fan of your Viking. Sage Ball, we haven't seen one. I'm not a fan of this Sage Ball. Oh, it's an Ephra Sage Ball. Okay, whoa, dude. Forsaken Doll? I don't know if I'm thinking of the same person. But I know there's a Japanese player from Japan who says they're stuck in Challenger Arena and like mid game. And I think it's this person. But this just makes me feel like Japan server is insane. Because if you're struggling in this game and you have this monstrosity of a Sage Ball with Ephras, I'm scared of what Japan server has in store for us. If he's hard stuck Challenger in Arena and like different places and like a mid-level player in Japan, I'm worried now. I'm scared. I'm scared of Japan server, man. Once we get Japan server and RTA, we're done for. Global's done. Global's deleted. We're never getting top 5 anymore. Another really good strong fall in Cecilia, by the way. A lot of really good units. Let me see the ones that are more unique. Litica, I might actually put this one just because it's her banner. I'm a big fan of showcasing units that it's their banner. And I've never seen a good Litica, right? And this is an insane... What the whose Litica is this? Cresselia? Dude. How's the damage like? Because I can see you sacrifice some of the speed. Right? I can see that some of the speed was sacrificed. Right? But I see the symbol of unity. And I see the high offensive stats. And I am really curious what the damage is on this thing. Look at the CP. This is a really well-built Litica. And, like, how much damage does this do? Do they use it a lot? Do they use it for Arena? Guild Wars? RTA might be a little too slow. Cleave Litica, yeah. This is crazy. This person loves the Litica. And you can't say, oh, it's free unequip. Because when you look right here, plus 15, max awaken, this person invested in it. And it looks like a dedicated set for her. This is a dedicated set for Litica. Wow, this is really, out of uniqueness, this is really crazy. Man, I love the Epic 7 community sometimes. I love the Epic 7 community sometimes. Because it's things like this that really, really like makes me happy with the community. That there are people out there that are willing to still have fun and put this could have been a godly DPS, but he opted to put in a unit that he probably or she, I don't know, I don't judge, he or she or they were really into and invested in, and I think that's awesome. Yes, it may not be the best thing for RTA, but the fact that they did this, it's so cool. This is so great too. I really like, mad respect to players that do things like this. I think it's really cool that people like this can still have fun, right? Same thing with the Frog, right? With Healer and stuff like that. Like those unique builds, I always love to see. Trying to change book in the future for Guild Wars defense for now. So only using for Guild Wars defense. If you're using for Guild Wars defense, I would use Proof of Valor. That's my suggestion though, for Guild Wars defense. As far as Celestial Stene, not bad. I mean, it's on the right track. We've seen some crazy Stenes in our time today. So that's why I'm kind of, again, that's one of the things where I tell you, Stene, Carrot, and Arby, I'm kind of phased by good builds at this point because I've seen so many. But the bulk stats are great. The crit damage and crit rate are fine. The speed and the attack though are a little bit on the low side. Aside from that, it's a good Stene. Aside from that, it's on the right track. Really tanky Robbie. That is indeed a really tanky Robbie. The no speed Robbies, I don't see them often, but they're still unique. Some people still like playing with these type of Robbies. But alright, let's go to units that we haven't seen a lot of. We did see a Kitty Cat. It's pretty similar to the one we saw before. Nothing super crazy there. Kayron. Standard. Ooh. I like this counter Kayron. It's a little bit more threatening when it procs counter. It'll be more we saw another one that was faster, which is really cool for setting up. But this, can you imagine Jenna Purgus Gifts as an attack buff? If you don't get rid of it, you're going to lose the fight. It's super fast. I'm a big fan. I want a Kayron like this one. I like this Kayron a lot. I had to stop because it's Kayron. Dilibet, we didn't see anyone. Alright. Rachel. Not that this is not a good Lilibet, because this is a really good Lilibet. I mean, Creation Destruction is cool. The defense and HP are amazing. The crit damage is great. But after seeing your Armin, I'm a little disappointed this is not 2k defense. Rachel, I'm a little disappointed. After seeing you have a 3k defense Armin, I'm disappointed you couldn't make your Dilibet 2000 defense with these stats. But aside from that, I mean, it's a really solid one. We've seen a lot of her. We've seen a lot of Arby's. We didn't see a lot of Cereses, but I mean, this is an amazing Cerise for cleaving. Oh, not a cleave Cerise. Never mind. This is a control Cerise. Pretty tanky, but fast. This is a control Cerise. Got high effectiveness, a little bit of crit rate. Pretty solid Cerise. Really good Cerise. Really good speed, too. So, I like it. I like the Cerise a lot. It's also amazing for PvE because of Confile. So very good Cerise for PvE and for PvP. Not a cleave Cerise because it's not 100% crit. So. Emo Kawasu I don't see a lot of. But this is what I expect from Emo Kawasu build. Where you have a really high attack, really tanky, decent speed. And no crit rate, crit damage. Because your damage comes from the burn, right? And there to counter AoE attacks, right? With the Border Coin, because Border Coin will trigger off of Emo Kawasu's passive. But that also means Politis does trigger off of this guy. In case you didn't know, Politis will trigger off of Emo Kawasu's S2. So take that with a grain of salt. Just know that, but that's what I expect from it. We've seen a lot of Emo Kens. We've seen a few Violets. We saw a couple Troublemaker cross sets, although this is a really good Troublemaker cross set. Wow, that's a really good Troublemaker set. Really good bulk, really good speed, on counter, and good FRS. This is probably the best T-Cross set I've seen in a while. Really good T-Cross set, by the way. Amazing. Amazing Troublemaker cross set Comfy Rex. So we're doing speed now because I wanna still showcase some of the cooler ones and kind of take a look at them. Ignore gold. Your gold's really low. More defense, and this is a really good Violet. That's it. That's the only thing. More defense is a great Violet. I would honestly drop some of the speed for more defense. We've seen a lot of these today. We've seen a lot of Marshall Scott Senya. I like how tanky she is. Although, I mean, there's different ways to build the units, right? So we saw a really high damage one. This is a really good bulk one. That's going to survive and be annoying with the reflex. Not sure if good or not, Oreo. It's good enough. That, I mean, Selena's just there to counter things like Maid, to counter things like Elena, to counter things like Flan. That's all she's really there to do. As long as your Selena is killing, then you're fine. So Selena only has to be as good as to one-shot certain units. Top tier Selenes can one-shot top model Lucas, right? But not a lot of good Selenes can do that, and this one probably wouldn't do it, right? You'd have to have this more artifact maxed out and a lot more attack for it to actually be able to kill top model Lucas. Top model Lucas is just really tanky. Tank Rylet. We've seen a lot of Rylets, but this one's a little bit... It's like the lifesteal ones we've seen. But instead of opting for a lot of damage, they opted for a lot more bulk and a little bit more speed. So instead of having the high damage ones, we're seeing the very bulky Rylets that we don't see that much. Alpha, we don't see a lot of, but I like this build. High damage. Again, no crit rate because you just need it. High effectiveness to actually land the debuffs. And good attack to do decent poke damage. And some speed to follow up. Very solid. F10, another disgusting F10. I don't want to see this. I hate F10. Blingo. We don't get to see a lot of Blingos. So this is unique. Blingo's a weird unit because I always feel like when I look at a Blingo, I always think it's trash. Because his base stats suck. So that's the thing with Blingo. When you look at a Blingo, just know that he has really bad base stats. So even though it looks like a trash Blingo, it's actually a really good Blingo, right? This is a really good Blingo, right? It's not Blingo's fault that his base stats are atrocious because he's a Soul Weaver. So pretty solid Blingo, right? Blood Moon Haste, we don't see a lot of, but again, it's a very solid ammo haste. Not sure what has a crit damage. I imagine this is for PvE or for being annoying in PvP. A little bit weird. Usually I see people opt instead of crit rate for FRES, so it's kind of unique. Unique ammo haste build, actually. We've seen so many Strazes, but again, I'll show this one. It's very standard cleave Straze. Revenge Ruel. Wow. This can be really annoying. I see that they didn't use Water's Origin because they didn't want to push up too much and they didn't want to heal too much. The only complaint I have is the FRES is a little bit on the low side. You kind of want at least 150, but aside from the FRES, the Revenge set is really cool. And of course, if this was Red Gear, it would obviously have 150 FRES, but that's interesting. I wonder how this would do. Because with Revenge set becomes better than Speed set when you're under 75% health. But most people don't hit Ruel. So I don't know. You have to tell me how it works, Retro, but I think other ones can be better. So I'm a little skeptical on Revenge. I'm a little skeptical. I like this defensive stats are great and the speed, everything's great. The effort is a little low, but I don't know if I would rather have seen you do a speed and just have a better Ruel. Because I don't think you're going to get a lot of mileage out of the Revenge set. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see a lot of mileage off of the Revenge set. And yes, this probably would be better on Crow. But I don't know how often you're going to be using that. I'm seeing a lot of fonts to see this. We saw an insane Cermia. This is also a really good Cermia, but the Cermia we saw earlier today just takes the cake. So that is it. I know I locked it because I do want to look through this, but there was this one Cermia that I just want to showcase one more time because I love Cermia too. And it's a unit that I want to go back and build, and I might use this for reference. Even though it's not going to be for PvP, I might still use her like this because it looks insane for PvE. Like, actually. We've seen a lot of really good units. I suggest if you're just joining in, this will be in here. I went through a majority of these units. I'm sorry if I wasn't able to go through all of them. My voice was starting to hurt a little bit. But let me see. Because I did see one sermon that I was just like, bruh. Oh, this. Bruh. Bruh. Like. So I don't think I'll ever be able to see another Cermia the same way again after seeing this one. So this just looks disgusting for any PvE or PvP in this game. Like, you can't beat this, right? So, yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully I enjoyed this unit review as much as I did. It was really cool seeing a lot of y'all's unique builds. I really enjoyed going through them. I'm excited to see what you guys build in the future. I will be leaving this up soon. I'll let my mods add some of these builds to the top unit builds that I think are great. There were some great, amazing units in here. I will leave this up for the week, and I will be taking it down after I update the other stuff. If you want to update put more units, you can put them in the top unit application. Tier, you can put whatever you want. My mods try to go through it every once in a while, or if we're really impressed by units, we'll go through and actually put it ourselves. I will personally go through this week and update these onto the list, right? So I myself will go through and update these to the top unit builds, the ones that I thought are really good, or the mods will. And besides that, though, if you ever want to showcase your units, or you ever want to see other cool builds, go to top unit builds. There's millions of builds in here. You can use the search bar and you should be able to find the units according to the thing, since it is standardized to be able to let you search for that, right? So it should let you search for all the armies, right? If you just scroll through, you're able to see some armies. And then the ones that are more specialized, it helps you a little bit more because it's a little bit less scrolling. And I try not to duplicate, so I do try to go through and delete any duplicates that don't make sense, right? So there's that. So with that, that is all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed and want to see more like this, make sure you like and sub. It really does help the channel grow and lets me do more of this stuff. It takes up a lot of space. Yeah, William, if you want, I do play on the computer and I actually play it on BlueStacks a lot. If you're someone that doesn't want to play it on their phone, you can actually use BlueStacks, right? And yes, I know I was sponsored in the past by them. They're really cool. I still like them. I still use them. I mean, I wouldn't sponsor something I don't think is worth y'all's time. So it's a good way to actually do stuff. So if it takes up too much space in your phone, but you still want to play some E7, just know that you can do it through that. But that is all. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you check out these builds. All of them are really, really cool. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I will see you next time. Peace.